My bills for gas and electricity had gone straight through the roof. I chose, a spokesman said, and they saved me £2,800. It was so easy, I used them for my house and contents insurance too.
For help saving money on your energy bills, go to aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money. If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit WEDOOH.com. We Do, the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you'd do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics. All better.
I'm not a snob. I just don't want to be in the same car as my chauffeur.
Love sport.
Cricket. That's my boycott. Is that my Jeffrey boycott? As soon as we talk about geeky, it's not geeky. And do you know, I can't help it. As soon as I say, right, we're doing cricket now, geeky. I love boycott. He's wonderful, isn't he? He's brilliant. He's wonderful. But do you know what? Obviously, we've been saying what an amazing summer, which we'll both go through some of the great events that we've had this year. But I just wanted to say how great it was with Ben Stokes. Me and you haven't spoke, Paul, about the Ben Stokes situation. Two of the most amazing things that I've ever seen. When we won the World Cup, when he slid in with the bat and it hit the bat and it went out for four. First of all, I'm going, what's the rule there? Yeah. Because I've never seen it. I don't know what the coup is. And we were going mad about it and how he basically won the World Cup for us. And then this innings last week, where 2 weeks ago now, isn't it? Where he just stayed in bat and he just manoeuvred it so that Jack Leach didn't have to face it. Absolutely brilliant. And we were saying, give him anything. Give him a knighthood. Give him the world. I mean, he's a superstar. If he doesn't win Sports Personality of the Year, there's something wrong in there.
Well, he's a superstar. I've got to say, in terms of cricket, I mean, my lot at home are not really cricket fans, but they watch both.
Me too. Yeah.
Watch both, glued to it. And normally we're only like that for football, like Champions League and Premier League and stuff. Sat glued, couldn't believe what we were seeing, and we're sitting there and going crazy. And this is all about Ben Stokes. That's what he did to my lot. My lot watch cricket now because of him, and I'm virtually sure he's done that for a lot of people. A lot of people watch that. You know, people go out and play cricket after that.
I think you're right.
It's that kind of experience that he's given us.
Strangely enough, there was because we played in this football tournament yesterday. One of my mates said, "Oh, there's a cricket match up the top, but like if everyone wants to have a few beers." And I went, "Oh, what time?" I'm involved. And then obviously once we finished playing the tournament, I needed to go to hospital rather than a cricket match. But we're joined now by Cricket Pritchard, who's changed his name since we named him Cricket Pritchard. Just tell us what your thoughts were, because I've got to say there was obviously we had a lot to chase down, and there was this slim chance, wasn't there? We thought, hang on a minute, if we've done it before, I mean, we might be able to do this again.
A slim chance is pushing it, even for the miracles that we've seen this summer, when you're having to rely upon Craig Overton and Jack Leach to bat out 30 overs and produce yet another miracle. Things aren't necessarily great. I think touching on something that you've just mentioned, Paul Hayward's article in the Telegraph today was that even though the summer's ended in sadness, which it has, and losing a home Ashes series is not something that we are used to in the last couple of decades, not happened since 2001, it's still a phenomenal summer for cricket. And you've just mentioned, Paul, about your family getting involved watching it. That ultimately hopefully is the lasting legacy of this summer. That obviously it hasn't ended well with the Ashes, but winning the World Cup final and also what happened at Headingley hopefully will inspire that next generation to watch it. And there have been plenty of people that aren't particularly cricket lovers, that they're casual cricket fans at best, but they've been glued to their screens. And cricket isn't as fortunate as football, where there will always be that demand and there's just such popularity because it's a worldwide sport and everyone plays football, everyone watches football. Cricket's not as privileged as that. And so to have a summer like this on home soil, which has been full of ups, downs, you never knew this summer where things were going to go next. You can never predict. And when sports like that, it's difficult to not watch it. So that's hopefully the lasting legacy of this summer.
I think I said to you when we watched the World Cup that the ODI was so exciting. You know, that it's just, that's it. It's one day, bang, we've got to smash as many runs. And we found it exciting. Even when we was looking at the IPL, and me and Johnny Sperling was sitting here, we're going, oh, we like it. The bowls light up when the ball hits the bowls, right? They've got different outfits. It's making it a bit different. And the ODI was so, and you were very, very. No, wait till the test. Wait till the Ashes. It's a different, contest, if you like. And we were sort of like, oh, really? We've got to sit through 4 days of it. Like, one day was exciting. We can start smashing 6s and 4s, but it has been exciting, hasn't it?
It's been incredibly exciting, and I think part of that is that neither side is fantastic. I think that's added to it that the frail batting maybe has contributed towards more dramatic games that had both sides had 3 or 4 batsmen in great form, then we may not have had the tension that we have had in these test matches. Having said that, the reality is that those are the 2 batting units that we have, and it is displayed great cricket. Test cricket has always been the pinnacle, and it should always hold that status in the game that, yes, one-day cricket is great to watch. T20 is even shorter format, and people in this modern era, I think, are short-termism in so many different ways, and they are impatient and they want things to happen now. But what this test series has proven, even though it's ultimately ended in disappointment and exactly what we didn't want, what it has proven is how important test cricket is to cricket and how it should always hold that status as the pinnacle of the game. It's what every young kid dreams of playing, and I hope that continues, that it doesn't become a case of what we see in some countries where we just want to play 2020 cricket, earn loads of money around the world, and test cricket just seemingly takes a back seat.
Can I ask a question though, Kieran? I actually think it's a moment in English cricket, because I think us playing the way we have done, and I take Jason Roy for example, he should play through the whole lot. I think it highlights the difference between the longer form and the shorter form. Because how could we honestly believe that because a player is good at the shorter form, he can transfer that to the longer form with no real practice, with nothing at all? I mean, I was on the programme yesterday with Martin Caulfield, and he was right. It's like rugby league and rugby union. It's literally like playing rugby league and then transferring, switching codes with no practice at all, and being expected to pick up and just take it on and roll. And I don't know why. And we're talking about at elite level. We're not talking about Sussex second 11. We're talking about at the top of the game. Why did they think that could happen?
And it wasn't that long ago that people were wondering whether it would be a good thing to try and merge as much as possible. Now, there are some players that it works out brilliantly. Ben Stokes is the prime example. The maturity that we've seen from him over the last 12-18 months is a player that's able to play different innings in different circumstances, and that requires intelligence with your play, but also your game has to be in good order. Your technique has to be in good order, because now we can see Ben Stokes bat for 2 not out off 50 balls at the end of that 3rd day at Headingley, and then explode to action on the 4th day to win that test match. With Jason Roy, the technique simply isn't there, and so it was unrealistic to expect him to come in. Obviously,
I felt sorry for him.
It is, and you wonder about the psychological impact going forward when he gets back into one-day cricket, because I don't think beyond this series he will still be in the test side. Is he going to have a lingering impact of, I failed at test cricket? I also think Johnny Bairstow succeeding at the top of the order in one-day cricket has meant his technique is shot. It is completely all over the place, and for me, he's another one that should lose his place in that test side.
I'm glad you said shot there. Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm glad I didn't get it wrong. I'm not going to lie. But it is a concern that that there's this belief that just because they're a success in one-day cricket. Now, England were trying to replicate what David Warner did with Australia, broke into the one-day side and the T20 side, and then came into Test cricket. But the biggest difference between Warner and Roy, I know Warner's playing badly at the moment and is in Stuart Broad's back pocket, but he knows when the right time is to leave the ball and when the right time is to play the ball. Jason Roy wants to hit every ball, and that's what he does in one-day cricket when the ball doesn't move, and that's fine. Test cricket, you are a walking wicket against Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood. This is the best bowling attack on the planet. You
said to us the last few weeks that your granddad said treat the ball with respect. That comes
you treat each ball on its merits. That if it's a good ball, you show the respect it deserves. And if it just means a forward defensive shot, you can show confidence in a good forward defensive. If it's a bad ball, you smack it to the boundary. You show with a lack of respect.
But you have to have that patience. And I mean, what worried me is, and Joe Root, I feel sorry for because he got a couple of really good balls.
Yeah.
But the way Rory got out, same as Bairstow, being bold, and I heard them on Sky saying, good players don't get bowled. Not like that on a regular basis.
It's the repetitive nature. We've criticised James Vince in the past. We've criticised Keaton Jennings in the past. Gary Balance in the past for getting out in the same way. It's effectively the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Well,
that's what we're seeing from Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow, which is concerning. They're either not willing to or they're not able to adapt in order to change the way in which they're getting out.
Do you know what? We've not even mentioned Steve Smith. I know you've got to leave because you've got a helicopter waiting and you've got to get away, and the weather's pretty bad out there, so I know that the pilot is waiting. So Cricket Critchard is now leaving. We'll give him a round of applause.
Yes.
There goes Cricket. And
you're wrong.
I can hear that helicopter above. It's got a Chinook on the roof of Love Sports Studios.
You are so wrong.
Just on that fact, we didn't talk about Steve Smith because take him out of the equation. We might have won.
Well, yeah, take him out of the equation. We've got a great chance. The problem that you had was he became such an Achilles heel. He became such a problem, because it didn't matter what we tried. We could not get him out. And really, he scored 82, he holed out himself. Really, he got himself out.
Yeah.
If he wanted to stay, he'd still be there now, mate. And it's just, you often have that nemesis, that player you cannot, it doesn't matter what you do, you can't be. But in football, it's normally like 1v1. It's normally one player. Here, it's one player and all 11 of our lot.
True. No, you're I said that. I kept saying it. It's the one player.
Yeah.
That we get every time we took a wicket, we would look up at the screens and go, "Is it him? Oh, it's his mate.
Oh,
it's not him. It just really
we
annoyed
got
me.
3 out. Is it Smith? No.
But just saying that, going back to the Ben Stokes thing. Lewis Hamilton must be doing his nut, mustn't he? Because it's like he just keeps winning championships, and then this ginger fella's come along, and who is he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, Lewis. Sorry, mate. This fella's come along. What does he do? He plays cricket. What? And he's winning it, is he? All right.
No, we have an emotional attachment to cricket like we do not have to Formula One, because we can't relate to it. We can't. We can all. Let's be honest. After the cricket finished, we can all get out and go and play.
True.
We can't get in a high-powered car and drive like a nutter, so we can't relate to it.
Well, I can, but my wife.
Yeah, you
mad.
can, but exactly right. Yeah, but you'd be in the doghouse. But we can relate to cricket.
Yeah.
We watch it. We can go and play it. It's something that's tangible for us. Formula One isn't.
I said that about. I'm glad you mentioned that actually, Paul, because I've said that about. I was in the States last month for a few weeks, and all the games we were watching, and I'm saying, well, you can't exactly play this, can you?
No.
American football, you can throw the ball to each other, but you can't have a game.
No, you can't. No.
Okay,
no.
And you've got to wear giant shoulder pads from the 80s.
That's right.
Right, and you've got to be 350 pounds.
You've got to be quick.
You've got to be powerful.
And no disrespect, you've got to be black, because we're all black. We're all black boys. And basketball, none of you all lot can play.
That's
you ain't big enough.
I can throw the ball in. But that's another one. Basketball, you've got to be at least 6'8", haven't you?
You can't play it. You can't. I used to play basketball as a kid at school, but I was literally 3 foot nothing. So really and truly, it was just a nonsense.
The only one that you can get involved is the rounders.
It's
over there. Yeah. And let's be honest, it's rounders, isn't it?
It's
true, isn't it? And they make such a big thing of it, and they go, and it's on the second base. And I watched it at night. I said, me and my son Cash, I said, we're going to get into this. I said, you watch us, we're going to get into this. And after about 5 minutes, he went, it's rounders, isn't it, Dad?
Do you know what? I watched it. I was lucky enough for the very first time. I went to the States a couple of months ago for the very first time. Me and my wife went to New York. And, in the hotel, jet lag, stupid o'clock. I'm watching back. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, me
I'm
too,
going to watch it. And then when I woke up in the morning, because it was a bit like that, I can't remember much of it, but I woke up in the morning. Did I watch any of it? How much did I last for? It's so slow, isn't it?
It is.
It's just so slow. But what I liked of it, they had a competition about how far you could hit it. So there was a competition about the furthest striker of a baseball.
Yeah.
They win hundreds of thousands of pounds. That was exciting.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
It's like the longest drive in golf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then when they went back to the baseball, everyone went, oh.
Yeah, I know. Well, the only thing about it, watching it now, strangely enough, I went to America with Mum and Dad when I was a kid. And I thought, yeah.
Is your name Alan Wicker?
Yeah, I know. But it was 1979. I think my dad had a good year that year. I think we went to Pontins the following year. And it was either that or he'd sold our cars. Something happened. We had a bit of money that year. And some of my mates, when we go on holiday, we went to America, America?
Where's that?
That's just like television programmes, isn't it? It's like a Wi-Fi.
I'm going to see you on the telly.
Starsky and Hutch live there, don't they? It's just... And we went, and I got mates with this kid over there, and I went and bought me mitt, me baseball mitt.
You went for it?
I got the Boston Red Sox top, the Boston Red Sox, the hat and everything, come back, and the bat and everything, and I told all my mates, this is what we're going to do. But we were rubbish, and I came back, and they said, you're better off playing with a softball. I thought, oh, it's a bit softer, but it's not. It's about 5 times the size, and it's for women.
It's huge.
And we went, yeah, we can hit that one.
We can hit that one.
It's like a giant pie coming at you.
I just never wanted to play it.
No.
It's just too slow, too boring. Nah, not for me.
But it's true, what you said exactly about the cricket. Afterwards, we can go and have a game of cricket, and we can sort of get involved. You're probably right with the motor racing.
Well, the thing about it is, you watch it, because, Sky Rolling News, there'll be, that Christmas, they have a compilation. Are you going to sit there and watch Lewis Hamilton going by, or are you going to sit there and watch the last over?
Yeah, agreed.
Which one gets you?
And also, I did say a little while ago that they need to change the rules to make it a little bit more exciting. Just to change the engines or change.
What would you change then?
Do you know what? In the old days, when I did follow it quite a bit, was that you could have a choice of 2 engines. I think I've got an idea. You could either have like a 1400 turbo or a 3 litre. I might be wrong, but I'm almost certain you could have choices of stuff.
Right.
You could have choices of tyres. There was a lot more that you could make the choice and it could go wrong.
Yeah, a lot more jeopardy involved.
Yeah, at the moment, it just seems like...
Well, what I found, Mark, was that pole position became very important.
Yeah.
Because if you got pole, then it's a procession. On some tracks, you can't... Unless you muck it up...
Yeah.
And the first corner becomes huge. The start. That's why I always watch the start. The start becomes huge. Once everything's settled down, well, you may as well turn off and go and do some painting and watch the paint dry.
Agreed.
And then watch the end. That's about it, because there is no drama.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
And every guest that we've had on, we've had one of the guys who was one of the Williams team managers, and he said the tracks have got to be made wider. They've got to be made wide, and they've got to stop the DRS, which is, the situation. In the old days, you get in the slipstream, pull out, and overtake.
And you can overtake as long as it's safe. Because we've had fatalities. As long as it remains safe, and they really make sure that they're robust on safety.
Yeah.
But yes, there has to be some jeopardy involved, and I'm not talking about danger. I'm talking about some excitement, because otherwise the product becomes somewhat stale, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you don't watch it. You don't.
When we come back, I'm going to throw one at you from that sort of period of you got to add jeopardy to it. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the US Open. Don't go anywhere. It's 35 minutes past 3.
This is Love Sport.
I'm Leslie from North Essex. I couldn't believe that after 5 minutes I'd saved over £900 on my energy bills. When my car insurance was then due for renewal, I went back to a spokesman said and reduced my premium by over £500. I thought that my home insurance was expensive. When I shopped around on a spokesman said, I saved a staggering £1,100. I've saved £2,500. I cannot believe it was that easy.
A spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Alright, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
Love sport.
Listen, the tennis standard has gone through the roof for me.
Yes,
and it really has. And we were talking about some of the amazing players, and I've sort of said I didn't realise that Rafa Nadal was going to be one behind Roger Federer.
Crept up, hasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Federer, he's won millions.
Yeah.
And you just, I didn't realise he was, Djokovic on 16, Nadal was on 19, and Roger Federer was on 20. And we were talking about earlier, who's the greatest tennis player for you?
For me,
you can go anywhere.
God. No, I would have to say Federer's for me. By a street. I mean, you know what? He was boring, but I love Pete Sampras as well. He was boring, but I loved him.
So I mentioned him earlier because he was your serve and volley.
Yes, he was. Stefan Edberg was good too, serve and volley.
Yeah,
I've got to say.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I could start thinking of him now. Andre Agassi. I like Jimmy Connors. Jimmy Connors was good. Borg was good. You can't have this conversation without McEnroe either. You can't, because they were quality. And you know what they did? It's subjective. The best player in the world is one that you have an emotional attachment to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, Federer made me want to pick up a tennis racket and believe I could play. That's how he made it look so easy.
Yeah, he's a beautiful man as well, and he's beautiful.
But he's not. Yeah, he is. But Djokovic, if he stays fit, I mean, that shoulder injury could be quite worrying.
Yeah.
Nadal will be the first to get to 20 because he'll win in France. The Australian, I'm not sure. He'll win in France.
Yeah.
He wins that every year. Wimbledon, Australian, Wimbledon, and US. I'm not so sure now, but the French is a certainty.
That's him, yeah. I mean, it's just going back to some of those players you just mentioned. I always go to Borg.
Yeah,
always, because it just.
Why did he quit?
I know.
Why?
He was it, and then obviously Boris Becker came on.
Yes.
Won it very, very early. But we spoke about it. I think it might have been with Abigail Johnson. I think we're going to get Abigail on the line. I think. Abigail's going to come on, and I was talking about some of the tennis rackets you used to play with.
Yeah.
So when Borg always played with that old wooden dime,
wooden one, wasn't it? Right? Yeah, I remember that.
And then they went to the sort of double bar. Jimmy Connors had the
yes,
metal,
I remember that.
You know?
Yeah, I remember that.
And then you just now tennis rackets are just like they're graphite. They're just. It's just one.
Yeah, it's
a
very weird. I mean, do you remember Federer? I think he extended the face of his racket, didn't he? Made it slightly bigger. I think it's slightly bigger. Yeah, he tried different things. Made the face of it slightly bigger, although they're still fairly light and robust. But yeah, I just remember the old wooden ones. That bring back memories.
Yeah,
imagine if someone played with one of them now. Well, they couldn't, could they?
Well, that's what I think I asked it on the show last week. What it would be like, how they would adapt to playing with it, because it was the old cat gut, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. I wonder about stuff like that. You know, if the old Formula One cars from 20 years ago, how would the drivers deal with it today?
Yeah,
because there's so much technology in terms of tennis. There's so much stats and technology and all that kind of stuff. It's very scientific now. Back then, it wasn't. It was just the ability of the player.
Well, that's what we were going to talk, because we're going to get Abigail on the line in a minute to talk about the tennis. But just going back to what we was talking about Formula One racing, and I've been saying on the show, and we've had quite a few guests come on. We've said it needs to be more exciting, and there's got to be some changes made. And we said, like I said, I don't want to see crashes. Obviously, we had an awful fatality last week. I've seen that crash, and it's terrible. But I miss the old engines blowing up with the oil everywhere. You know, I just miss. There's nothing going wrong anymore.
Yeah,
the tyres don't.
There is no
go.
jeopardy. There isn't. It's almost like, you know what? You look at VAR and look at Formula One is a look ahead, because it's sanitised absolutely everything. Everything is safe. There is now no jeopardy at all. There is danger to be driven because they're driving at that fast, but they're taking away, you know, the ability to overtake.
Yeah. You
know, now team orders are in there, so drivers don't actually race, which is what they should do.
Yeah.
And we as the paying public, we want to see not fatalities, not crashes, but we want to see some jeopardy, because that's what's going to keep us on the edge of our seats.
I like the word jeopardy. I like that. I like it. You brought that in. You brought that in, Paul. I like that.
I'm owning that. You have to pay when you use it again.
when we finish about tennis, I want to talk to you about Evel Knievel.
Evel, don't get me started.
Beautiful, wasn't it? It's beautiful.
He was nuts.
He was great. Right, we're joined by Abigail Johnson, friend of the show, Love Sports tennis correspondent. How are you, Abigail?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
Very good, very good. Although it started raining today, and we thought the summer was still going to continue after yesterday, and it's not. Just talk to us a little bit about Nadal. I mean, a real monster 5-setter, wasn't it?
Oh my word, that is literally one of the most incredible matches I've ever watched. And the funny thing is that at the beginning it looked like it would be pretty straightforward for Nadal, because as hard as Medvedev was fighting during that match, Nadal yet again was winning the biggest moments. So at 2 sets and a break up, I mean, he's the player that's been there a million times before. I mean, I exaggerate, but pretty much, and he's the one that's had all the experience there. He's in control. Medvedev has fought, but he's had a long few weeks, and no one expects Medvedev to come back from that. But the crowd really got him going. He was absolutely redlining by the end of the 3rd set going into the 4th. And Nadal, honestly, should have had it in straights. He had a smash to convert break point and go up a break serve for the championship. He missed, never misses them. And there were definitely moments when Nadal was nervy. But Medvedev, honestly, after he snuck the 3rd set, looks like he would take it in 5. And it's incredible to say that, because he's from this generation of players that's been continually criticised for not doing more at the Grand Slams, for not stepping up, for not capitalising on good form. And that's exactly what he's done over the past few weeks. He's absolutely stepped up. He's played his game. He was cracking down on Nadal's topspin, dictating him from side to side over and over again, using the big serve, which is very, very difficult to do. And honestly, Nadal had to dig into his inner reserves to find a way through that one.
Do you know what, Abigail? I'm gutted, because I went to bed. I couldn't hang on anymore after the 2nd set, because I'm thinking, it'll be all over. Yeah. I woke up this morning, I was so angry. But in losing, might Medvedev now believe? Because I think with the top 3 in the world, all of the others, youngsters, I don't think they genuinely have that belief that they can beat the top 3. But in losing and the way he lost, might he now genuinely believe I can actually, beat one of these and claim a Grand Slam?
I think we've seen that belief from Medvedev over the past few weeks. He's had the hottest form of anyone after Wimbledon, and he got crushed by Nadal in the final in Canada, but I think that was good for him ahead of this match, because he'd kind of got that out of his system. He'd played Nadal in a final, he knew what was coming. Nadal's topspin on the forehand, you can never really be prepared for it until it's been on the other side of the net. So I think Medvedev is a prime example of how things should be done. He was absolutely deadpan during that final, cool as a cucumber, didn't let anything faze him, didn't react to winners, didn't react to unforced errors, just kept going. And I think that mentality is absolutely crucial when it comes to doing well at these events. So I think he sets a standard now, and I think he's always had that belief. And I think that seeing him have that belief in his maiden final against Rafael Nadal at 2 sets and a break down, I think that's going to give other players belief as well.
Do you think that that's why the fans sort of maybe changed their opinion on him, because they were booing him earlier on in the tournament?
Yeah, I think he certainly won people over that night, and we saw something unthinkable because, like I say, the crowd got Medvedev going. He even said after the match that he thought he was nearly done, and they were chanting his name back out of the 3rd set, Medvedev, over and over again. You don't see that against Nadal or Federer, and I think even Nadal was taken a bit by surprise, because at one point he was getting booed. The crowd was so much going for Medvedev. And I think that he completely, with his fight, with his heart, with his game, and the way he executed so well. It wasn't just Nadal falling apart or getting nervous in big moments. Medvedev had incredible reach, incredible balance on the stretch, and then was able to close in, have beautiful hands at the net. It was so good from him, and it would be impossible for someone not to be won over, I don't think, by such a fighting display.
So, Abigail, now that Rafa Nadal's come up on the blind side and has got 19 Grand Slams, when we all thought that Djokovic was going to be the one to catch Federer, who do you think is going to end up with the most? Because I'm looking at Federer, and neck and back injuries, I don't know if he's going to be able to win another one. Nadal's going to win in France, let's be honest. But who do you think is going to end up with the most?
It's hard to say because we don't know when each is going to start. We don't know what the final injury is going to be. We don't know how long each can keep going. The thing with Federer, for me, he's not always struggled with injuries, and even now he's doing okay. You know, he's measuring his schedule. For me, the problem with Federer is a mental one because he knows he's near the back end, and I think he senses that when he plays the majors. I think that's the biggest problem for him. Nadal, I saw his uncle, Tony Nadal, who coached him for a while, say something interesting recently. He said Nadal, over his career, has missed 14 slams due to injury, and he was kind of saying, imagine how many he could have had that not been the case. Federer's hardly missed a slam due to injury, and yet Nadal's kept it so close. So, like you say, French Open's pretty much given for Nadal, so you pencil that in, and he's winning a handful more, at least. Djokovic is a machine at the moment, so Djokovic and Nadal, all I can say is they have healthy opportunities to overtake Federer in the near future.
Just got to ask you about Serena. I heard her do the speech afterwards. I was on my way home from a gig late at night, and heard her say that if she was going to lose, she would have wanted to lose to Andreescu or her sister.
Yeah.
And I just that must have taken some character because everybody was probably on the side of Serena. It must take some character of Andreescu to close that out.
Totally, 100%. She is the completed package at 19 years old. That's the incredible thing about her. She has the game and every shot in the book, pretty much. The drop shot, the volleys, the big forehand, the return, which was essential. But she also has the head game. And when she was 5-1 up in that final set, and Serena started to pull back with the crowd absolutely roaring, the crowd did get to Andreescu a bit, and that was the one moment, I think, this year where I've seen a bit of fragility and a little bit of an experience from her. But when Serena was serving to level it at the back end, she ripped the biggest return winner of the match on championship point, and it's big moment mentality players like Andreescu who are going to win much more.
Abigail, I look at it and I look at Serena, and she's become more of a great for me, having lost these four, because she's lost against four players that have played out their skin. Andreescu was absolutely magnificent. Halep played really well. Osaka played well, and Kerber played really, really, really well. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that she will claim number 24, but could time catch up? And also the fact that very, very good young players are on their way up as well.
Yeah, I thought the Wimbledon loss was a key one for Serena, because if she'd snapped it there against an opponent in Simona Halep, who she's usually dominated, that's the mental line crossed in the finals that's been holding her back, and she can kind of move on. When she's hit a big number of slams in the past, she's freed up a bit, and I had all kinds of reserves after she lost that match, because for Serena, it is a huge mental thing. Like you say, these girls have stepped up and they've ripped the ball and they've been incredible, but Serena served at 44% of first serves in that US Open final. That's her biggest weapon, her first serve, and it's not enough. And I think, history repeated itself. Unseeded Indian Wells champion from earlier in the year won the US. Serena lost in straights again. And I think the more she loses these finals and straights, the more other girls are going to have confidence seeing what others have done. In a similar way to what I said of Medvedev and the younger generation of the men's game, they're going to look at each other, see what they're doing, and fancy their own chances. So Serena obviously has the desire and the ability to win 24. She needs to cross that line as soon as possible, because the longer she goes, the more belief is going to grow in the ranks.
Definitely. Listen, Abigail, as always, thank you very much for joining us. Abigail Johnson there, Love Sports tennis correspondent. When we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit about Huddersfield. They've appointed Lincoln's Danny Cowley, and also John Burko is to stand down as Commons Speaker at the next election, or 31st of October, whatever comes first.
Come for the sport, stay for the chat. Love Sport Radio. Are you paying way too much for your energy bills? A spokesman said could help you save big money. With electricity costs continuing to rise, you could save hundreds of pounds by shopping around. Just go to aspokesmansaid.com and look for the very best value energy deals on the market. Don't waste your hard-earned cash. You could be on a much cheaper deal. Go to aspokesmansaid.com.
Fighting for you, saving you money.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app
to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So, I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life Food Scanner app today.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
Believe me, he who laughs last thinks slowest. Ha ha ha, see that was a laugh because I'm clever enough.
This is Love Sport.
You're back listening to Martin Bell and Paul Mortimer here on Love Sport, and just got to announce, as we just did, John Burko to stand down as Common Speaker at the next election, or on the 31st of October, whatever comes sooner. And we were just saying, it's a really difficult job to stay impartial, sit in the middle. It is the John Burko show. He is a character, but if he did go, it's sort of like, we'd sort of miss him, wouldn't we?
We would, but you need, I said to you, I'm virtually sure it was Betty Boothroyd before, who was a character. You need a character.
Yeah.
You can't be straight-laced in amongst them jokers.
No.
You can't be, can you? You can't be impartial and just, I have no opinion. No, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. I'm not having you. And I like the way he deals with it. He can be a somewhat tempestuous. He can be. There's absolutely no disputing that. And he's had his issues away from it as well, family issues as well.
But that makes him real, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course.
You know,
he's human.
That's what we sort of like. That was the only trouble with Theresa May. It was like, what's the maddest thing you done? Run through the fields of wheat.
Yeah,
come
and
on.
Dance badly.
I want to know that you were, you was in Stringfellows one night going mad.
Absolutely
with the people.
I can't see that. You've got to dance. Have you seen her dance? I'm not having that, mate.
She'll be on Strictly. So.
Can you imagine that?
I'll tell you.
Oh my God.
She'll be on Strictly. But it's true. I'm wondering who we're going to end up with. We still want to see
how
a
they
character.
choose a speaker then? How does that? Is there speaker school? What do you reckon?
That's a good point, actually. How do you find someone in those ranks? Go, who do you side with? I don't. Really? Have you got any? I've got no opinion on anything.
You'll do us.
You're in. But we're going to miss that. Order.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Because nobody says it like him.
No one says it like him.
We've even got Patrick Christie's. Patrick Christie's in here,
Do you know what? Yeah, he could be. He could be the speaker. Patrick Christie's. Yeah, we should push for Patrick Christie's as speaker. Yes.
Or our very own Kelvin McKenzie.
Fair play.
He could get in there.
Oh, dear.
Move it around.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it, eh? Both of them. I'm going for either.
Both.
Either of them.
Both. Order. Let's just talk a little bit. Huddersfield have appointed Lincoln's Danny Cowley. Do you know Danny, Paul?
I don't know. I don't think I've been in his company either. What a meteoric rise. I mean, he's done magnificent. I always worry when a manager joins another club and then joins another club like this early in the season. That always worries me. I understand the ambition, but he's done a great job at Lincoln and players have signed for him.
Right.
And then he's gone off to another club and it kind of leaves them in limbo a little bit. But I understand the single-mindedness.
Have you had that happen? You signed?
No. Yes. Bristol City, Tony Pulis.
Really?
Yeah, went there for him, and it's funny because I went there for him. I got injured, and because the problem you have with those kind of clubs, it's almost like he played for Bristol Rovers, so then he was hated.
Right.
He was genuinely hated. I went to Bristol City. Danny Wilson became the manager. Said to me one week, "You'll get a chance." The next week, you never play for the club again.
Are you joking?
And I could be troublesome. I'd not seen him that whole week. I'd been in the treatment room, so I didn't even have a chance to cause any trouble.
Oh, no. It must be awful, mustn't it, when somebody comes in new and you know that you're not that player, not that style of player that they fancy.
Time to go. Pack up.
It's awful.
Start the car. You're off.
And you've moved everything.
Yeah, you have to get on with it. And that's the problem you have sometimes. That's why when people say players are mercenary, you have to be. Because when someone wants to get rid of you, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
And I had a similar thing with a record company years ago, and I'd sort of signed with a very big PR man who manages everybody at the moment. But he was Elton and John's PR man, and I couldn't believe it that I'm going to be with this guy. And he promoted my first couple of records, got a few TV shows, and then after that he said, look, he went on, and it was like legendary to get this guy involved with you. And he said, I love your voice, and I'm going to do I'm going to make you a star, introduce me to the world. And then he phoned me up after the second single, and he said, listen, don't worry, but I'm got a job with Sony as the top fella at Sony, and I'm leaving you on your own. I thought it was the end of my career.
See you later, bye.
Yeah. I'll tell you about it afterwards when we come back. We're going to go to Sky News, and we're going to come back and banter some of the biggest sporting events this summer.
This is Love Sport. If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit WEDOOH.com. We Do, the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at the message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle, or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Coming up on the show, we are going to be talking about some of the most amazing sporting events this summer. There's been an abundance of them. It's like you wait for one, and then about 10 of them come along at once. So we're going to go through some of the great ones that have happened this year. Also, just prior to that, we'll just touch on the comeback of Tiger Woods as well, because it was prior to the summer, but I do want to touch on it because I just think it was amazing. We're going to be talking about England beating Bulgaria 4-0 at Wembley with a hat-trick from Harry Kane. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about what we do with the midfield, as we have been. It's all coming up in the next hour. Don't go anywhere.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 4, the House of Commons Speaker John Bercow has announced he's standing down. He's told MPs if they vote for a general election tonight, he'll step aside from the role he's held since 2009. But if there isn't a snap poll, he'll stay in post until the current Brexit deadline.
The least disruptive and most democratic course of action would be for me to stand down at the close of business on Thursday, October the 31st.
Mr. Bercow says it's been the greatest honour of his professional life. British Airways says the company remains ready and willing to return to talks as their pilots are staging their first ever strike. Members of BALPA have walked out for 48 hours, grounding virtually all the carrier's flights. An inquest's heard a 16-year-old CBBC star hanged herself after suffering exam stress. An assistant coroner concluded Maya-Alicia Naylor's death was misadventure and that she didn't intend to take her own life. Police are investigating after 2 people in their 20s were murdered in northwest London in separate killings less than a mile apart. Yesterday, a mother was fatally stabbed in Camden, while a man was shot dead in Kentish Town. The Home Secretary has called for urgent action over assaults on police. The number of officers in England and Wales who've been injured following attack has increased by more than a quarter in the last year. Priti Patel insists offenders must face tougher punishments. Addressing a conference of senior officers, she says forces have the government's full support.
As your Home Secretary, I'm proud to say that my job is to help all of you to do your jobs. And that hugely important job is, of course, to protect the public from the scourge of crime. Now, we're all on the same side.
In sport, Huddersfield have appointed Danny Cowley as their new manager. He joins the struggling Championship side from Lincoln, where he led them to 2 promotions in 3 years. That's the latest. I'm Daisy Steele.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is the Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive.
Good afternoon, everybody. You're listening to me, Martin Bell, and the wonderful Paul Mortimer on Love Sport Radio. Coming up on the show, we're going to be talking about England beating Bulgaria 4-0 at Wembley. Also want to talk about whether it's worth going to these other stadiums, whether we should just keep all the England games at Wembley. So good talking point. We're also going to be talking a little bit about Gracia, sacked at Watford, and they've replaced the old fella from before, Flores.
Yeah.
Bit of a strange one. We're going to ask you, who would you like to bring back to your club? Who would you bring back as a manager from previous?
Oh God!
We're also going to be talking to Derek Payne, ex Watford midfielder, and we're going to be talking a bit of German football with German football expert from Goal, Ronan Murphy, and we're going to be talking a little bit about all the wonderful things that have happened this summer, some of the great events. There's been so much to talk about. It's all coming up on the show. We're here till 7 o'clock. Don't go anywhere. Let's just start off with that, Paul. Obviously, the England game. Just ask you about this because they're going to the second game at Kosovo is going to be Southampton.
Yeah. I mean, they did that when they were renovating Wembley, didn't they? They travelled like a travelling roadshow around the country. I think every now and again, in fact, I think it's a good idea. I think every now and again, I love Wembley. There's no disputing that, but I do think it's a good idea sometimes down south in the Midlands and up north.
Do you? I see. Yeah. I don't know. I'll tell you. The situation we played when they were renovating Wembley, and we played at Man United when we drew with Greece to get through.
Yeah.
Now, myself and Sperling were there because the Sven song was just going in the charts that week, and it's one of the most wonderful weekends ever.
That must have been. That's a Beckham goal, wasn't it?
It was the Beckham goal, and we sat with Beck's mum and dad, so that's how mad it was.
Yeah.
I mean, John nearly broke Ted Beckham's neck when he just sort of jumped up and down.
God, I can just imagine.
It was a wonderful period of time. But you know what? We turned up for that, and me and Sperling did quite a few interviews for that, and so it was quite exciting for us anyway.
Yeah, of course.
But I just found that it just didn't feel like an England game.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was. Obviously, half of the team there were Man United players anyway. But it just didn't feel... We didn't put on a great performance anyway.
No, scraped through. Got all we needed in the end.
Exactly. But I don't know. It just didn't feel England. And when I got to Wembley, that's England for me.
Yeah, it's England's home. But I just think the football fan has changed now. I really do. And I think that... As much as we want, other clubs in Europe don't have one specific ground. Some don't. Spain don't. Italy don't. They travel around.
True, yeah.
I'm not saying we've historically always done that because we've been just our tradition. We've always had Wembley. Every now and again, I don't mind if the odd year in 5 that we do this, but recognising that Wembley is our home.
Yeah.
But every now and again, just give the local fans something to cheer about.
Did you play at the old Wembley?
Oh.
Go on.
God. 1998, the playoff final, Charlton versus Sunderland. I played 8 games that year and I think I might have been on the bench.
Right.
It's funny because we the team was sorted and it was down to 1 substitute spot on the bench. Now I knew my hamstring was bad, but me and Johnny Robinson, John had broken his leg cracked his little, I think it's a tibia, and was on his way back. And he was a quick healer, and he was a fit lad. And
but you're looking at him going, "Don't heal so quick."
No, we're good mates, me and Robert. We're good mates. And what happened was we the day before the game, we're training at the training ground before we travel to a hotel by the side of Wembley, and all the other places have been sorted. So there's this one substitute spot. Curbs is the manager, and he can't decide. Let's be totally honest. I think he can't decide. And unbeknown to him, I'd felt my hamstring. I had actually felt, but I suppose the selfish aspect of me was I wanted to know if he'd pick me, because I'd have had to say no.
Yeah,
I was gutted, but he then came to us, sent Keith Peacock, his number 2, to me and Robbo, and said, right, we can't decide, so we're going to play a 5-a-side, and the best player in that is going to be sub.
No.
Me and Robbo looked at each other and we went, oh my God, why don't you just pick it?
Yeah, flip a coin.
So we hugged each other, me and Robert, and mucked about in the whole 5-a-side. We didn't do anything. We just mucked about, booting it there.
Yeah.
And in the end, he picked John.
Right.
And John was brilliant, and he was right, Curbs. I mean, I think what he did really well is he had an eye for a player and he could put together a side, and he did it, and we won, and it was, I suppose it was the most...
Did he come on?
Yeah, Robert came on.
Did, yeah.
It was the most emotionally challenging day I think I've ever been through. Sure. I wanted the boys to play. I had the opportunity to walk on Wembley, and just not playing was keeping a check of your emotions then, because you never know if that's going to happen again. I'm playing for Charlton, so playing for England wasn't going to be an option, and playing, winning stuff for Charlton wasn't going to be an option. So, whether that was going to happen again, we weren't quite sure. But I was delighted the boys won. Big Sash made the save, and our lives changed because we went into the Premier League.
Yeah.
But not playing is probably the hardest thing. The hardest thing, and going. It's funny because I went to Wembley not so long ago when Charlton got promoted again.
Yeah.
As a fan, and number one, it brought all the memories back. But number two, we won, and I was there with my boy. And we both standing there crying like fans when Charlton won. So I have bad memories, but I also have good memories.
Yeah. But do you know what? It was nice that you went to the old Wembley as well, because I love the old Wembley.
Me too.
Something about it, wasn't there?
I love the old Wembley. I mean, I watched in the 80s, the early 80s, watched QPR play there against Spurs. So I was a QPR fan, and walked there from where I live. But I prefer the old Wembley. And you know what? I remember FA Cup finals as a kid. You used to get up and watch the whole day.
The best.
Yeah, the whole thing was brilliant. I mean, now it's not the same.
It's not.
It's nothing like it used to be, and all those old traditions have gone.
Yeah. That's part of it. This is what myself and Johnny Sperling said, that you used to get up on the FA Cup final. You'd get up early. In fact, the night before.
Yes.
Right. I actually remember 1975. My dad tucking me in at night because West Ham were playing Fulham.
That's
in the final.
right. Yeah.
And my dad and they'd done a TV show the night before, and they'd gone through statistics. This is when we didn't have statistics, right? There was no player stats. Yeah. It was like, well, he's wearing Gola boots. They're quite good.
Right. Streamlined.
He's got the right laces in, and it just that's all it was. And they'd done an equation that worked out. I think Bobby Moore was going to play for Fulham that day. It wasn't, he'd left West Ham long ago, and they said Fulham's going to win, and I cried. Okay, and my dad took me and said, "Don't worry, they're going to win." And just waking up next day, getting ready for the FA Cup, and just seeing the two towers at Wembley, and just. This was the maddest thing, was when I started playing football, we our team as kids, the two managers decided to take us on the tour of Wembley. This was 2 days before the West Ham Arsenal final, 1980.
Yes. Oh, don't get me started.
So I'm sort of 11/12, and my mum said, "Oh, they're taking you. They can take you to." I said, "Yeah, we're all going to the cars. Great, we'll sort of go there." And we've still got this picture. And we went to do the tour, and all the other boys are sort of in tracksuits, and they're like, their mums put them in their favourite T-shirt and stuff. My mum put me in a velvet suit and a bow tie. I swear to you, it's the maddest thing. I look at it, I had a claret bow tie and a blue velvet suit. What's that all about? I look like Ronald McDonald. It's terrible. And I remember sort of all my mates telling, like, when we sort of picked us up in the car, like, You right, Bell? What's that then?
I lost a bet.
All out of the Grattan's catalogue. That was
Velvet.
The terrible thing is, my mate's still got a picture of that.
I was going to say,
we try and get it on the website. Try and get it on the left.
Beautiful.
But do you know what? I've got look to this day. I loved that tour of that Wembley.
Yeah.
And for me, it was where the FA Cup final was played, and it was where the England team played.
Yes, right.
And that was the history of it. And I don't know. I don't like the England team playing elsewhere. I know it's good for fans that perhaps don't get to London, and they probably look at everybody in London.
Money spinner as well.
Yeah, and I don't know. And it must be. Wouldn't it be terrible if you were you get your one England cap?
Yeah.
And you play.
Right.
This way it's at Scunthorpe. Just my luck. Yeah. Just my luck. Or Huddersfield. Desolate place to go. I mean, that just sort of reminds me. We must sort of talk about that. About Huddersfield appointing Danny Cowley. You just said it's different for man. You must see people in the football industry come through the ranks and suddenly jump quite a few stones pretty quickly.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's he's gone from, I think, a non-league side that he took into the league to Lincoln very quickly to an ex-Premier League club.
A jump too far, or
no, well, you know what? He knows how to win. He knows how to put a team together. What's going to be interesting? Because I saw, who did he play for? I can't remember what his team was before Lincoln. Someone will tell me in a sec. But I saw them play. Saw them play in a final, and what got me was that they didn't play much football. They played very direct.
Oh, really?
Now, I tend to think he's probably a manager who cuts his Braintree, who cuts his cloth accordingly. And I think he's stepping up to a team that are playing in the Championship, that have got a lot of different types of players. He's almost going into the situation like, let's say, Nathan Jones did, from Luton, who was successful, to Stoke with Premier League players, and he struggled. He's found it difficult to implement what he wants. You're kind of hoping this doesn't happen to Danny Cowley. I think he's been incredibly successful, and he seems a really nice guy and a good manager, and the players love him. But this is going to be a hell of a challenge, because he's going to a team that doesn't know how to win at the moment.
Right.
And that's a difficult thing. When you know how to win and you find a way to win, you've got players who don't know how to win.
Yeah.
Getting what's in your head into theirs in a way that gives them confidence is an art.
It's a tough game, isn't it? But going into management.
Oh, it's a tough business.
Because I know that, Martin Allen here has said that you live and breathe it.
Yeah.
And I know my mate Teddy, who went into management and, sort of done the Stevenage thing and went to India and stuff. Suddenly his life was taken over, because you're worrying about the players' families, their home life. It's not just about picking the team, is it?
Well, no, I mean, one of my best mates in football, Leroy Rosinha, I was his assistant manager, his first team coach at Brentford.
Yeah.
For about 7 or 8 months. And we never really got any backing from the board. I remember we had to cobble. In fact, Martin Allen had just left,
and
all the players' contracts have run out, so we had loads of kids. Thanks, Mart.
Yeah.
And we cobbled together this side.
Yeah.
And first 10 games, we're third in the table. God knows how. I'm telling you. We then play a League Cup game at Northampton. What's his name? I've forgotten. My memory's terrible. Glenn Hoddle's number 2 at Swindon.
Oh,
if you remember his name. John Gorman was manager.
Yeah.
And we beat them 1-0. Now, conservatively, we should have lost 7-1. They were that good. And when we shook hands at the end, we were all laughing, because we know we've got off lucky. So then we sort of say, me and Leroy, we need to go and, we now need players. We need to go to the board. And the board said no, because of where we were in the table. And what we said was, we've got all kids. If we lose one game, we're going to lose 7 on the bounce. I'm telling you, what happens? We lose one game, we lose 7 on the bounce.
Wow.
We're relieved of our duties, having not won in 11 games. Okay, so when the chief exec comes to me and tells me that I'm going to get a sack, the first thing he says to me is, it's got nothing to do with the results. I went, what? He went, yeah, no, it's got nothing to do with the results.
Well, what is it?
What is it then? Oh, it's you and Leroy's style of management. I went, what, the style of management that got us 3rd place?
Yeah.
He went, well, I went, no. Let me just clear this up. We haven't won in 11 games, of which we lost 8 on the bounce, and you're relieving us of our duties, and it's got nothing to do with that. He went, yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough one, and it's just
tough one.
You know. And the reason why I was sort of asking about it, sort of you said about him jumping stones.
Yeah.
Danny Cowley is going so quick.
Pressure.
I remember a few years ago, and a few people saying, so, I won't say names, but there's certain managers that are banned around. Unbelievable! And then suddenly they have a bad run of form. Boom. They're actually out of the game.
Yeah, that's what happens. I mean, to finish my story, I after that I knew 100% I had what it took to be a manager, and for 6 months I tried, and it didn't work, and I never got an opportunity. I am genuinely pleased I didn't.
Really?
Yeah, because I look at managers now. They look 10 years older. They look anxious. They look agitated. They look pressurized all the time. Yeah. But when they're out of the game, they take a break and they can't wait to get back in. It's a drug that they just cannot do without. And I just look at it and I just think managers now should be called private contractors. They should be.
Yeah.
Because, you could lose. Look at Javi Gracias.
Yeah.
7 games over the end of last season and this season, and that's enough to get him the sack. Having got them to Wembley.
And Flores is back.
And finished in 11th.
Who I think he had a better result against. In fact, when we come back, we're going to be asking you, you just send us a WhatsApp, 0208 70 20 558. Which manager would you like to see back at your club?
Love sport.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it. You just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work that way. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
I have my own radio station too. It's called Love Trump Radio. The only station 100% fair and 112% factual.
This is Love Sport.
I could go back through quite a few of the old West Ham. If I was thinking about a manager to come back, to sort of listen, I love at the moment Pellegrini's fine. I don't know what he's saying. I haven't got a clue. He looks like he's about to drop down dead. He looks like someone's just woke him up. But it seems like we're all right. We're ticking over. But I liked Bilic. Bilic was
good.
I
think Pellegrini just needs a good haircut.
Yes,
and a good hair colouring, and he'd be all right. And he needs some makeup because his face, he does. He looks like he should be in some morgue somewhere. He does. He looks ill, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, if you had to deal with West Ham fans every week, you would be. But I go back to some of the. I'm trying to think. We asked this question last week, Paul, and I thought it was quite a valid question. That I love Wally Gunnar Solskjaer, but I don't think he's going to last the long haul of it. And I just said, if Man United for one season could bring back Sir Alex Ferguson at his prime, would you choose Sir Alex Ferguson at his prime, or would you have Pep Guardiola?
Fair play.
It's powerful, isn't it?
I tell you what, it's funny, social media, people on social media are cruel. There was that caption, I don't know if you ever saw it, when David Moyes was manager, and sort of between the two dugouts, they'd put this brick wall, and there was plexiglass with Alex Ferguson standing behind it. It was like, if in case of trouble, break glass. It was brilliant. It was absolutely, people are cruel, but I think they take it. You take it. You take because he was a one. Well, Roy Keane, don't think he's all that, but I thought he was a fantastic manager.
Would you go with Alex rather than Pep at the height of him? So Alex and the new ideas that Pep brings to the table now? It's a tough call, isn't it?
I loved the way Man United played under Alex Ferguson, and for us, it's a footnote in our history, and that I don't want to take away. Football has moved on now, you know, and whether Ferguson would be successful now with those methods. I mean, the thing about Ferguson is, which is why he was there so long, was his ability to reinvent himself. So I would fancy him against Guardiola, because I think he would have reinvented himself. He would have known the type of player, and it would have been very interesting to see how them two would have shaped up.
Do you think this would happen? Okay, Alex Ferguson comes back in, because I love that story of the old days when Giggsy just sort of got into the team. He's like, I'm playing for Man United, and he goes round Lee Sharp's house, and Lee Sharp says, we're going out. And they're getting ready, and they're getting spruced up, they're getting the Old Spice splashed on, and they're ready to go, and there's a knock at the door, and they open the door, and Ferguson's standing there, and he says, you're not going anywhere. And I think Lee Sharp went and hid under the bed. And now what I'm saying is, he ruled what the coup was there. Now, we all saw all the bits and pieces with Lingard and a few of the boys floating around with on the social media, putting up the videos. Do you think that Alex Ferguson, the first thing he'd go in and go, right, Twitter and Instagram, that's finished. That's out the window.
What I think he would do is he'd know more about it. He'd understand. What I like about him is he'd understand what it was about, and he'd understand his players, and he'd understand what was required. And I know that a good friend of mine was an agent who had a young player, a French player who Ferguson was interested in, and invited them over to watch a game and then have a meal, you know. And he thought it was just have a meal with the officials and stuff. So he watched the game, and then they were driven to a restaurant at a private room. It was Alex Ferguson and his wife, my mate, who's the agent, the kid, and his family, and they sat down to have the meal. And it was literally like Alex Ferguson seemed like their best friend. He knew everything about the boy, and it wasn't like he was reading it from a script. It was just an organic conversation where he just started to talk about the boy, and everyone was stunned with the way he knew about everyone in the room. He knew and they didn't end up going to Man United, but they came away from it thinking, wow, you know. So I think that he would understand more about
what you're saying. He would let them have it, but lay down some rules and
rules.
Know when they're
exactly right. I think that's what, you know, everyone sort of saw him as a dictator. I don't think he was. I actually think the hairdryer thing is a myth. I don't think it happened as much as everyone thinks. I think that was a back pocket thing that he had ready. But I think he was such a good manager and a good manager of people. That's what we saw at the outset. Now, you listen to Roy Keane, he's telling you a complete different story. But, you know, from what I see and from what I've heard, I think he would be able to move with the times, because you're not a manager at a club, especially a club like Man United, for 25 years without learning to move with the times.
I think you're right, but obviously my mate played there, and he did know a lot about what was going on. I think at one point, I think he said to my mate, "Stop being mates with him," because he's getting you in trouble all the time. But I think there was a sort of he treated them like men, as well. But just on that note, just while we're flicking past that, because we're sort of going around the houses a bit today, but I'm quite enjoying it. The Roy Keane situation. Look, it's really funny, isn't it? When we watch him, the most funniest bit about it is, it's a bit like when Jeremy Corbyn done that speech and said, I was at the European Commission just the other day, and I bumped into someone and said, and do you know what they said to me? And someone shouted out, "Who are you?" And the funniest part about it was Andy Burnham sitting behind him trying not to laugh. And what I find funny about the Roy Keane interviews is Gary Neville sitting next to him, and he's biting his lip because he knows that he's probably got to speak to Fergie next week or something.
He can't laugh.
He can't laugh.
And you know Ferguson is watching it. You know he's scrutinising it, mate, and he's looking at going, what about Roy Keane? He's looking at Gary Neville. If you crack, I'll have you, mate. I'll have you.
Do you think that Keane does it for effect, or do you think it's genuine?
He looks like Mr. Angry. He does look like Mr. Angry. I don't know.
Did you play against Keane?
Played against Roy Keane. Yeah, I mean, listen, that was a proper footballer. Technically, he wasn't the best.
No, I agree, yeah.
Wasn't the best, but he was always there. He was fit and strong and read the game really well, managed situations well, led well. What he was like, him and Vieira, the reason why I would have them in my side at any point is they recognised when the game was going the other way. And they were masters of the dark arts. I mean, to be truthfully honest, if you're the best player in the other lot's side, they'd nobble you.
Yeah.
They'll find a way to stop you, and that's what they did. They found a way to grapple the power back of the game into their team, and so you'd have them all day long. But
would Keeney be all right with the way the game is now with VAR and the foul? Just you can't 2-foot someone.
No, you can't. You can't kick him around the throat anymore. No, and you can't. I think I'd like to think he would move with the times. It's a bit like saying would Graham Souness last half an hour today? He probably wouldn't. But as good a player as they are, that red mist they'd have to control. But I think what would get Roy Keane more than anything is the current players' social media profile and all the stuff away from the game. Because that's what was starting to irritate him when he got into trouble. It was about, they're not giving their all to being footballers.
Well, this is why I asked you about Ferguson, because some of the stories that I sort of remember of sort of being up there for a period of time, there was certain times when he would say to various players that I'd hear about, and they go, "You don't need to do that.
Yeah,
you don't need to do that. You play for Man United. This is the top club.
Yeah.
You don't need to be involved in all that rubbish." And that's why sometimes when I see some of that lot sort of tweeting and Instagramming and putting videos up, and and I just think, wait a minute, you're playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. Do you need to be doing that?
The thing about it is with the current players now, if you look at, for example, I'll tell you why they do it. If you look at Mourinho went up against Paul Pogba. Okay, Mourinho, the manager, should have been able to wipe the floor with Paul Pogba, the player, but it had nothing to do with that.
Agree. But he's got more Instagram followers than Man
United.
He's
a brand. He is worth so much money. They go to parts of the Far East. He's huge on social media. Everyone knows who he is. He's worth millions of pounds, not because of the football, but because of the finance and things that he can bring in commercially. So that's why players do it. Jesse Lingard, he does some stupid thing with his hands where he's got a JL, and that's all brand stuff. That's all stuff he's been advised to do. Players are getting paid to post on social media. So now what they're realising is they can become big for football, but even bigger in the social media world, which will only improve their brand. And that's
for the club. But it's still not winning them trophies, is it?
No, it's not. But you see, that's the problem. What we have to remember is, you look at Pogba, for example. He's one of the world's top players. Getting fit and all that business is not an issue. For the world's top players, it's not an issue. They'll do it anyway. So when people challenge, he's lazy and stuff like that, that's a nonsense. When you're one of the world's top players, okay, you don't skimp on being fit. You don't skimp on all of that, because that's what's got you where you are. So it's a given he'll be fit. It's a given he'll be ready to go. Now, whether he performs on the day, we don't know. But everything else about lazy, no. You're one of the world's top players. You can't tell me Dimitar Berbatov, everyone thought was lazy.
It's just the style of it, yeah.
He was a top quality player.
The only thing I would say about that, Dimitar Berbatov, and that's just the gracefulness that he sort of moved, he would give that impression. The only thing is, we had Razor Ruddock on the show.
Oh God!
And we love Razor, and I said, nuts, and it was just before the end. I think it was the last game of the season, where Wolves.
Yeah.
And there was this bit of where there was a throw in, and Pogba didn't track the fella back.
Yeah.
And first thing Razor come on and said, he's lazy. Yeah. And I think we were all on that ship at that time.
Of course.
But is there certain players, let's say like the Pogbas, that shouldn't be doing that job anyway?
Well, again, if you look at someone like Pogba, what have you got him in the team to do? To track people back or to go and win the game for you? And what you have is you have a balance. One of my mates used to use, my old coaches used to use this example. He used to say, and he used to use film stars as examples. He'd say, in any walk of life, any group, there's the stars, co-stars and extras. Now, which one do you want to be? What does a star do? The star carries it. Okay, star doesn't act like a co-star or an extra. Star carries it. Now you've got some co-stars acting like stars and playing like extras.
Yeah,
and that's the problem you've got. It's about people knowing their place and knowing their worth to the side. Now Pogba's not going to win you the game tracking back. He's not going to do that. It's like having Mario Balotelli in your side and moaning because he don't run about. You know what you're getting, so you can't bring him in and then try and change him.
You get a camouflage Bentley.
Exactly right. But you know
fireworks off in the house.
But you know that, so you can't bring him in and go no. Now we're gonna look at the stats. You've got to run about a bit more. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I just wonder. Because we started talking about, if you could have it for 1 year, so Alex Ferguson, or would you have Pep Guardiola?
Who would you have?
I would go with Alex as well. Right. Just because I sort of think it spins round to what I'm saying. It needs a bit of discipline coming back. I sort of don't want to see my footballers partying in Miami.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I know that I want them to go and party, but I don't want my son seeing it, if you like.
I want them to go and party, but I don't want to know about it.
Exactly.
I don't want to know it, but you see, the problem is, and let's be honest, 20 years ago, they partied in Miami.
Well, we did.
But no one knew. Exactly.
I partied with them.
But no one knew.
No
now,
one knew.
you know, the problem that players have, I remember watching somewhere where they had a picture of Jack Wilshere smoking a cigarette. Now, the thing about that is, someone has to have followed him and had to wait for ages until he had a cigarette in his mouth.
Of course.
Now, is that fair? Is that fair? And then they sell that picture, and then he's in trouble. I don't think that's fair.
I could tell a whole story about that, which I'm not going to. It's a long old story. Listen, when we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit about the ex-Watford. We're going to be talking to Derek Payne, ex-Watford midfielder. Don't go anywhere.
Love sport.
Don't get caught out in the great energy price hike as large firms look to charge you more. If you want to save money on your energy bills, it's not too late to see what's on the market. With rising gas and electricity bills, don't get caught out wasting your money on expensive tariffs. A Spokesman Said will show you the very best value deals available. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could be using your savings to put towards a well-earned holiday.
With aspokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics. All better.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
This is Love Sport.
You're back. Just must let you know that we are live on YouTube now. You can watch us on YouTube. This is... It just goes against what me and Paul were saying, actually. You just can't do anything now without being watched live. So we are live on YouTube now on Love Sport Radio.
What have we been saying?
That's the worry, isn't it? You know, we're just talking about some of these Man United players who sort of go on holiday and put their whole entire holiday live. And when they're going to nightclubs and everything, and I'm moaning about it, and now we're live on YouTube. Can't say anything. Listen, we're talking about Watford. This situation. Gracia has been moved on after 7 games, and they've brought back the old manager, which I said I'm trying to think of the West Ham managers that I would have brought back, and I probably. I've got to go back to John Lyle, I suppose.
Yeah, no, John Lyle was different class.
Yeah,
he was brilliant.
It's hard, I suppose. You know, a lot of fans will look back at them.
Not Harry.
I thought Harry was great at Spurs, and I love Harry. I think
so. That's a no then, because you're talking about Spurs. No,
Yeah.
you're not having him, are you?
Do you know what? We're talking about this after because I'm going to talk about. I love Harry.
Yeah,
I really do, and I've done loads of bits and pieces of him over the years, and I just think he's so overexposed at the moment. He don't need another.
No,
job.
he doesn't. He doesn't, does he? He's everywhere, isn't he?
Jam rolling. Driving me mad.
I'm sure I woke up in the middle of the night, my telly was on, and he was on an advert. I'm virtually couldn't get out of the door. I'm virtually sure.
It's true, isn't it? He's everywhere. Right, we're going to get an opinion of Derek Payne there, ex-Watford midfielder. Afternoon, Derek.
Afternoon, Martin.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, listen, I mean, what do you think? This is too early to get rid of him?
Yeah, you would think so after the season he had last season. But this is Watford we're talking about, and Premier League survival is kind of what the model is. So obviously they didn't feel he could turn it around, but obviously it's going to raise eyebrows in the football world because, he did have a good season last season. So it is, but Watford are known for it, and it's not just Watford, other teams do it as well because the rich is in the Premier League. They want to stay in the Premier League, and obviously they feel they have to make the change.
Sure.
I make you right. I mean, it's a bit of a weird one because if I'm right, last year West Ham didn't start their season very well. I think it was 4 defeats on the bounce. Yeah. But I suppose this is also going back into the back of last year. I mean, once they got to the FA Cup final, they lost their final 3 games, not great, and then got embarrassed in the cup final. And you're kind of hoping they didn't have the hangover, which they did have. But what gets me is just how quick, Quique Sanchez Flores was appointed. 5 o'clock was the sacking, and by 6:30 a new manager in. That doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah, it's quick, isn't it? They always would have someone lined up. Then that's how they work. But I think the surprising thing from a Watford perspective is Quique Sanchez Flores, because he had a good first season, and then the club kind of said that they didn't think he would take them forward. He was a manager in the first Premier League season, and they kind of come to an agreement that he weren't the man to take them forward. So in that way, but he's very good tactically, defensive. He's a very defensive-minded head coach, and I obviously see that he could probably pick up some points in the next few games and just stop the goals, because we're conceding a lot of goals. And that's something that he's very good at. So they would have had that lined up. We were hearing rumours the week before, but obviously they had to make sure that they had someone ready to come in straight away and get straight into, because they need points, and they need points quickly.
We had quite a lot of Watford fans on last year for some reason. We had lots of them coming on saying, we've actually found a manager now. We're quite comfortable with him. They were quite happy. Plus the fact getting in the final, and I'm just wondering what the players are going to be like now. That he's gone, the old manager's coming back. How's it going to? Have you ever had a situation like that when you were playing?
No, not while I was playing, where an old manager's actually come back in. But I mean, I think with it all, the one thing that people ain't talking about is that there's a big squad at Watford, and they're most Premier League teams now, and. While last year was going well, you got the players on the outside. They have to accept that, the team are winning, they're doing well, so they can't really come in and complain when they're not getting an opportunity. And I think with the back end of last season, not picking up results, and then this season not winning in the first 3 and just getting a point, I think that's caused a little bit of unrest. I'm not saying he's lost the change of him, because he was a really nice guy, Javi Gracia, but that can cause resentment, that can cause players to get a bit disillusioned, the fringe players, and I think maybe that's what's gone on behind the scenes, and that's probably why the change is being made.
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to their next game, because it's quite an easy one. They're not struggling, are they? I mean, it should be quite a walk in the park, the next game, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
well, you should be able to deal with that, shouldn't you? I mean, it's a great first.
Arsenal's forward line.
If he wins that game, all's forgiven, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I think in football now, I wouldn't say all's forgiven, but I mean, if you're looking at it from a supporter's view, and it's about, for Watford, they're realistic, but they want to stay in the Premier League. It's what the model is. They want to be in the Premier League, and so if he picks up a result against Arsenal, of course everyone will be thinking, he's come in and he's saved the day. But obviously, it's going to be interesting with him he's got a lot of attacking players there, and in his first year when he done Watford, he was very defensive minded, and we were very structured. So it's going to be interesting to see how he kind of includes these kind of what I call flair players into the way he wants to play. Does he embrace that going forward? Obviously, for the first 2 or 3, I think it'll be solid, keep a clean sheet, try and win games 1-0. But that's where I think it'll get interesting. New manager bounce and that. But after that, what does he do then? Does he keep his play expensive football, or does he stick to his tried and trusted method?
We were talking about that earlier about managers that sort of brought players in or sort of embedded into the club, and then a different manager turns up, and it's like whether they fit into his plans. And there is quite a few flair players like Delafeu. There's various flair players.
Pereira.
They've
got a lot of players. But I mean, if you're saying that Quique Sanchez Flores is more of a pragmatic defensive type player, he's going to either have to ask those to play a certain way, or they're not going to play.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it's going to be interesting.
Are Watford just looking to stay in the Prem? That's the best for them?
I think personally now, because after the start, they would take that now. But they wanted to progress. They wanted to move forward, and under Javi Gracia, they've highest finished in the Premier League, and they wanted to push on. But obviously now, I think after the start, and they haven't got a good record against the top six, so I think it's a case of make sure, we do enough to stay in. I wouldn't be surprised if he's here not too long, to keep him in the Premier League. Then I think they might look to change again.
Yeah,
it's just the way it is at the moment.
It is, isn't it? Just looking at, just got to ask you. We ask everybody who comes on the show who's played a bit. Derek, who's the best player you ever played with?
Best player I played against, Paul Mortimer.
I love you. I love you. Thank you very much. Oh God, you're making a man blush.
Did I set that up?
Okay, Paul. You owe me one.
Definitely, my friend.
Listen.
Best player I played with Craig Ramage.
Sorry, say that again. I lost you there.
Sorry, the best player I played with was Craig Ramage.
Oh, really?
Oh,
okay.
Good player.
Yeah,
good player.
Yeah.
Good player.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we'll put that one down the board. We've always put them on the board as to who's the best ones you've played with. Derek, thanks ever so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Brilliant. Derek Payne there, ex-Watford midfielder. You played against him there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Many moons ago.
A few battles?
No, not really. We didn't play against Watford much. And Watford in them days, oh my God, they knocked long ball, and it was just a battle in midfield. In fact, my second ever league game, made my debut at left back for Charlton. Thought, I'm just going to play left back. I loved it. It was cool. Next game, we play Watford, and I'm playing central midfield, and the ball was in the air, and you're just watching it going over and above, and whenever it got to you, they had two, rattlers in the middle of midfield who just ran and kicked you. That's all they did. I slept. I got home. I think I slept till about Sunday afternoon. I was so tired. It was great.
How'd you ping from there, from left back into centre mid?
I have no clue. The gaffer said to me, because I'd started as a centre forward when I was at Fulham, and then I went back to fullback and played. Funny enough, was being released by Fulham, 1987, and went to work, actually. Left in March, went to work in a law bookshop in Fleet Street.
Year of the crash.
Yeah. And then Fulham, I had one more game for Fulham. They rang me up, said, I've got one more game. We're going to play Charlton at Craven Cottage in a reserve game. Played all right. 2 weeks later, Charlton said to me, come pre-season, win the games, come play some games for us. Gave me a month trial. Signed me after 2 weeks. By that November, I was playing in Charlton's first team. Now, Charlton at that stage would have been in the Premier League, would have been equivalent to Premier League. Fulham would have been in League One. So I wasn't good enough for League One, and yet 3 months later, I was good enough to play. But football is the strangest thing you would ever believe.
Do you agree on this as well, Paul? Because it's a bit like my industry with the music industry, is that it's about opinions.
Yes, it is.
It is opinions on players.
Simple as that.
I've always said a boxer has got to keep knocking somebody out to get on. Tennis players got to keep winning.
Yeah.
Football and entertainment, music, is about somebody's opinion.
Yeah, that's right.
You could love somebody, go to the other and go, no, I don't see it.
You have to be lucky. There's a huge amount of luck sometimes in football. I mean, for example, that game when I played for Fulham, the way it left with Fulham, I didn't want to play. So I'm on my way on the bus, go around Shepherd's Bush roundabout. I'm going to get off the bus and go home. I don't want to play. I didn't want to play. It was only a good friend of mine who made me turn up. Now, if I'd not turned up, probably wouldn't even be sitting here.
Yeah.
So it was luck that kept me on because I didn't want to play.
Yeah.
Ended up playing, and the whole thing was just about timing. And had had it been against some other club, it might have been completely different. So, but you have to be there to be able to.
That is it.
To get the
you have to be there, and I've said it. So many things that I went for in the music industry, and just you go, oh, what am I doing here?
Yeah,
and then something
yourself.
sprung out of something, and it's and I say that to my son about he's training at a couple of teams, at academies and stuff, and he's like, oh, I'm not as good as him. And I was like, listen, you're not at the moment, but when you turn 13, 14, you might have a different.
Of course you will. You just have to be there. You have to be there with their back. You know what you got to do? You got to believe in yourself.
Right,
you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you may as well stop.
Should I tell you, 1987, you just mentioned, so you were doing that. 1987, when that crash happened, I just got a record deal, but I was working. This is the maddest thing. I was working at a place to pay for my music career, if you like. Yeah. And I got sacked. I got made redundant, and nobody will ever believe it. But I was working for Goldman Sachs.
You're kidding!
1987, and people still laugh. They go, "How did you get that job?" And I go, "I don't know." But when they started making redundancies, I was the first person to go.
From Ali to Zaha, we've got it covered. Love Sport Radio.
Don't get caught out by rising energy bills this year. Leading price comparison site A Spokesman Said can help you save money in just minutes. Plus, sign up to A Spokesman Said to get the latest super cheap collective energy deals. These offers are such great value, they aren't even available direct from the energy companies. Savvy customers have saved over £10 million from collective energy deals. Go to aspokesmansaid.com and you could be saving big money on your bills.
With aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit WEDOOH.com. We Do, the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
I am a god in Scotland. They've never seen anyone live to 70.
This is Love Sport.
So yeah, that job I had in 87, just to let you know. So I'm signed to Mickey Most at this period of time. He was the sort of Simon Cowell of his time.
Yes, I remember him. You used to go,
yeah, Rack Studios. And I just thought, well, that's it, I've cracked it. And I was doing this job at Goldman Sachs. And I honestly don't know what I was doing. I was called a settlements clerk, but I think all I used to do was just sing. And I used to sit in the desk and I used to go, here's the fellow over there, he's the singer who knows nothing about this business. And at one point, but I just liked it there. And I actually done this is how funny, I've just remembered, I actually done the Christmas party that year.
Did you?
I'd done the Goldman Sachs, and they said, would you sing? I said, yeah, I'll get the band together. And we played at the Christmas party, and the crash had happened in October 87. Gets to January, and my boss calls me, it was great, wasn't it, the Christmas party? I said, yeah, it's brilliant, He said, you just have a word in the office and sit down. I sit down, he said, all right, Mark. And I said, yeah, great. He said, I've got to let you go. And I said, I looked out the windows. I was looking around, went, let me go where? He went, out of this building, never to be seen again. Do you know what? I was so upset. I thought, what? And I found out later that of the entire Goldman Sachs across the world, they were going to make redundancies. I was the first. I phoned up a fella in New York. He said, nobody's gone from here yet. You're the first. Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? But anyway, there you go. And I've gone on to do wonderful things.
Yeah.
I could have been a multi at Goldman's, but there you go. Listen, just talking about this. Germany lost to Holland 4-2.
Yeah, I don't know. They just lost. I mean, they let in 4 goals in the second half. It wasn't even close. No, the Dutch are a good side.
Yeah.
I don't know what is going on with Germany. I just think, the cycle comes to an end. I actually do think that it's time for the manager to go, and they need a broom to come in and just because you remember 2010. After 2010, that's what they did. They came in. Broom came out. They spoke to. They had decided the way they wanted to play. They went to all the clubs and said, "This is what we want to do," and success came after that. But that cycle's coming round now, and they look like. It looks stale.
Yeah, they've run out of ideas.
They look stale. They look predictable.
Do you think that the manager has stopped sniffing his finger?
That is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
The worst.
Should have got the sack just for that. Don't worry about the results.
Me and Johnny Sperling did it's on YouTube actually.
Yeah.
We can't play it on here because it uses rude words. But we did a very good version of the German manager sniffing his finger. Anyway, it's a long story. You can find it somewhere. Joined by Dom now, Live Sport's very own Dom. Just talk to us about this Dom, because 4-2, I mean, that's a scoreline from history that we remember from 1966, but we don't expect Germany to get beat 4-2 anymore, do we?
Yeah, they just seem to be in absolute turmoil, as Mort said, really. Obviously they crashed out of the World Cup to South Korea. Then they had a disastrous Nations League campaign where they ended up getting relegated. But I think there might be a Nations League sort of reshape, so they might end up not getting relegated in the end. But it was nice to see Germany get relegated in international football. It'll be a sight to behold.
But do you think it's like what Monks has just said? It needs
I think
a broom coming in.
they've missed the boat in that Julian Nagelsmann's gone to RB Leipzig here.
Yeah.
And he would have been a great choice to get in as national team manager. I understand he's very young, but I think that's what they need. I think they've had the same manager now for 15 years, 13 years?
It's
since
time,
2006.
isn't it?
So just need changes. You got all the you got Neuer, you got Müller, Boateng, all these players sort of on the out, and they need a manager to bring in the fresh ideas. You've got players like Leroy Sané. You've got players like Serge Gnabry, who had a very good season with Bayern Munich last year. He was their player of the season after Tony Pulis said he wasn't good enough for West Brom.
Yes, right.
So I don't understand what's going wrong there. I think the only bright light I saw from the highlights of the game was Niklas Süle, the defender who was at Bayern Munich. But that's about it. I think, as you said, it's just gone stale.
Well, you just mentioned Leroy Sané there, but how does he perform with them?
Well, Joachim Low doesn't seem to like him, like Pep Guardiola.
What is going wrong with that player? Because whenever I see him, whenever he comes on, I think the kid is genius.
So he's a very good player. It was difficult for him emotionally and mentally because he didn't go to the World Cup when it was clear he should have. It was very clear. So you start to consider or think about what's going on behind the scenes. It's so obvious. I mean, from the first game they played, you could see they didn't have any pace. That he should have gone, and then he comes to Man City, and Guardiola's doing the same thing. He's not playing him. So
there's something not right, is there?
Well, but that's what we'll do. We'll start to think, well, something must not be right with him then. If the national team manager would rather struggle than have him, if Guardiola wouldn't play him, and we all know he's brilliant, we start to think like Colombo, don't we? Yeah. Well, something must be going on behind the scenes.
My wife. One more thing. Don't get me on Colombo, because I won't stop. I shall get me raincoat and my terrible car out. Don't worry about that. But I watch that, and listen, whenever I've seen him and he's been on the bench, I often say, why is he on the bench? And then when he comes on, I say to my son, he's going to terrorise people. Watch him. But there must be something, and you're right, Paul. We always say there must be something.
We do.
What's going on behind the scenes?
But he's so good, and I don't know, Dom. You know, as a fan that goes to every game like you do, how do you view something like that? I mean, what do fans say when they're sitting in the stadium and the best player or one of the best players isn't playing?
Yeah, it's a very strange one. I mean, it's not quite looking at England, Jadon Sancho not starting, but I looked at the England team, let's say, on the weekend against Bulgaria when I was walking down to Wembley Way and looked at the team, and I was like, I don't see the point in a game like that why you don't play a Maddison, why you don't play a Mason Mount, because we're going to have most of the ball, we're going to have it in attacking areas, and those players are going to create something. I think Barkley is the player you want to unlock maybe the better sides when you need to drive with the ball. But if you look at someone like Mason Mount, you look at someone like James Maddison, they both start the season very, very well, and when they play in advanced positions, they're very creative, and I think, yeah, for me, if we're going back to the England side here, I think the reason why the first half an hour of the game was so boring was probably because the midfield was just too static. I mean, if you look at our holding midfield options, if you look at Dyer and look at Rice, for me they're not passers of the ball. But then you've got Winks and Henderson. Then you've got as I said, Mount, Maddison in the midfield. You've got out wide players in Sterling. You've got Sancho. You've got Rashford. So yeah, I think we obviously briefly on Germany, but yeah, for me England are now on the up, and I think we're finally getting somewhere. We just need to work out what our best team is, and will be great to see actually the likes of Sancho, Mason Mount and Maddison play a part tomorrow night against Kosovo.
Malta, I did want to, we'll talk about it afterwards, but we spoke about the midfield and the abundance of players that we got coming through, amazing talent, lots and lots of flair players, and it's how do we play them, how do you sort of link them up, and I'll sort of go back to those old days when James Corden pulled out Frank Lampard and said, "Do you know Steven Gerrard?" "Yeah." "Why don't you pass to him then?" It's just brilliant. Because you're both very good, but he is just a little bit better than you. But I do look at this midfield now and think, how are we going to gel some of these players?
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, what Gareth's doing really well is he's creating. It's almost like a club mentality.
Yeah,
that's what he's doing. But he has got a hell of a job between now and when the Euros start to put a squad together. Don't worry about the team. Because he's got an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to be him. It's going to be a difficult job.
Okay, we'll come back in a minute and we'll talk about Lampard and Gerrard. Who was better? Don't go anywhere.
Love sport. Are you paying way over the odds for your car insurance? The spiralling costs put people off driving, full stop. But you're a careful driver, and realistically, you'll only need an insurance payout if some halfwit cuts you off on the M1. So you shouldn't be forced to pay massive car insurance premiums, and you don't have to. Go to price comparison site aspokesmansaid.com today and find out the best value car insurance deals on the market. Don't pay the price for not shopping around.
Spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you, and making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support, from how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
You're back with us on Love Sport. Myself and Paul Mortimer were just sort of comparing font sizes.
My kids let themselves laughing at my font, by the way. They think it's huge.
Well, mine's bigger, isn't it?
Honestly, they'll cry at yours. They will cry at yours.
I've got a mate who literally has only got about 3 letters on the page. It's so ridiculous. Listen, when we come back, we're going to be talking about some of the sporting events that happened this summer. Don't go anywhere.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 5, John Bercow has announced he'll stand down as Commons Speaker at the end of next month, unless an election is called before then. He's held the position for 10 years and has faced fierce criticism from Brexiteers who've questioned his impartiality. But Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn was full of praise as he wished him luck.
It's going to be one of the most dramatic there has been, and I think your choice of timing and date will be recorded in the history books of parliamentary democracy. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Labour Party, I thank you for your work in promoting democracy and this House. Thank you.
MPs are voting later for a second time on whether they want a snap poll. A man's died after 2 men were pulled from the River Thames in southwest London. The other man's been taken to a major trauma centre after emergency services were called to Kew Bridge earlier. British Airways says it's worked tirelessly to contact everyone affected by a 48-hour strike by its pilots in a row over pay. The BALPA union is taking its first ever industrial action against the airline. The UK economy recorded growth of 0.3% in July. The Office for National Statistics has revealed output bounced back from zero the previous month. In sport, England have decided not to make any changes to their squad for the final Ashes test of the series at the Oval. Australia have already ensured they'll retain the urn after winning the fourth match at Old Trafford. Former England batsman Michael Carberry says Jason Roy's failure as an opener is one of a number of issues that needs to be addressed.
I think it was a bit of a blunder in terms of the selectors and where they were going with that. I think it sends out a bad message to young batsmen who have got good first-class records. You know, Dom Sibley's name has been mentioned.
And forecasters are saying January and February next year could be the coldest in the UK in decades. They're saying we could be hit by another beast from the east. That's the latest. I'm Daisy Steele.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker.
This is the Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive.
Good evening, everybody. You're listening to Martin Bell and the wonderful Paul Mortimer at Love Sport. We're covering the Drive show today. We're going to be talking a little bit about the cricket. Where did it go wrong for the cricket? It's such a shame. The Ashes was in our grasp, but it's not.
Was it really in our grasp?
Not really, no. We just got excited by this fella called Ben Stokes.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Huddersfield, their great deal to make Lincoln's Danny Cowley their new manager. England win their last the World Cup warm-up, okay? And we're going to go and talk about the Kosovo one as well. And I want to talk a little bit more about whether England should just be playing at Wembley or should play at various clubs around the country. We're also going to be talking about some of the biggest sporting events that have happened this summer. So don't go anywhere. Listen, this morning, the boys on the breakfast show, Mr. Rich Lee and Patrick Christys, spoke to Australian cricketer writer Paul Dennett, and they started off by asking him how he's feeling this morning.
To be honest, I'm just relieved. I was getting really nervous when there was about an hour to go, and then I blamed Shane Warne in commentary. He started talking about the lights were having an effect, and that when you can see four shadows, it means that the clouds are coming in, and I was thinking, I handled as a fan the Headingley defeat okay, but I couldn't have handled this. I think this would have broken me if we had a draw here and had to go to the Oval with it 1-1. So when Labuschagne came on and took the wicket, that was a pretty great moment.
Well, John, what a ball it was. You're right, because that was when it got me a little bit excited, when he started talking about the shadows, and then all of a sudden the overs came up at the bottom, minimum overs left, and it started to decrease, and you thought, actually, do you know what? I am now again starting to... And that's the thing that got me, was I'd given up hope about 2 hours before that, and then all of a sudden, Leach and Overton doing what they did, I started to believe again, and I really hate Leach for that, because he's a hero of mine. No, I do. He got me to believe again for a period of time. He was brilliant again, and Overton so good for a period of time, and then what a ball from Labuschagne.
Yeah, it's the hope that gets you, isn't it? And yeah, look, Labuschagne has become... He's just jumped to everyone's favourite cricketer. Like, he was... after the match, you wouldn't have seen it on English TV, but on Australian TV, he was hugging Ian Healy when he was interviewing him. He was hugging Mel Jones. He's just like it looks like your favourite kid brother, and he's demanded the ball. And Nathan Lyon, great bowler that he is, really couldn't do much all day, and he's gone on and his first over of that spell effectively won the game. So yeah, magnificent stuff from an Australian point of view.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, Joe Root has come out and said that he's going to continue on as England captain. He's still got work to do, he says. Do you think that's wise? Do you think that actually that decision might be taken out of his hands?
I think it's wise. I don't think that the decision should be taken out of his hands. I look back to way back when Alan Border was the Australian captain and the Australian side was losing all the time. And he was a little bit like Root. not necessarily a natural leader, and they stuck with him partially because there wasn't really anyone else, and I think that's the same case here. And I don't think England have been anywhere near as bad as Australia were once in the 1980s. But this, if you took Steve Smith out, England probably would have won this series. I've just been looking at the numbers that on average per wicket this series, England scored 26.5 runs. Australia minus Steve Smith, 26 runs exactly. You've got to put Steve Smith back in, and then we jump to 34.1. So I think there's no reason to get rid of Root at this stage, but who knows what they'll do.
We've got to talk about Steve Smith. You just touched on it there. I mean, yeah, take Steve Smith out of the equation, and of course it's a very, very even game. You'd think actually England would edge it, but he was phenomenal. They kept showing all the different stats, and the fact that, was it the impossible chase? Is it Bradman's record of runs that he's got in the Ashes, 900 and whatever it is? Like, that's not beyond the realms of possibility.
No, I've been watching that whole series. That shows what I think you guys call it a cricket badger. That's probably what I am. But Bradman got 974 runs in 1930. And Smith, I think he needs 305 in the final Test match, but he missed a Test match and a half.
Yeah.
So had he played the third Test match, who knows? You still wouldn't put it past him. It's going to be difficult, but you just never know.
Yeah, he's got an average of 134 going into final go.
Which is great, like you say, he's got 2 innings, you'd think, to do it. So he could, if he carries on this form, he could be there or there. He could get 1,000 runs in the Ashes.
I mean, that would be absolutely sensational, wouldn't it, for him? And look, well deserved as well. You know, the guy's been an absolute sensation. But yeah. So look, where does this England team go from here, Paul? I mean, you're having a look at it obviously from an Aussie perspective. Where are the key areas of weakness for you? Do we need to make quite swift changes now, do you think?
I don't think that you do, and I think that would be a mistake to make wholesale changes. I mean, look at the batting, and people like Jason Roy, they're going to say, well, his position must come under serious scrutiny. In Australia, former captain Ian Chappell said that he's got a technique totally unsuited to Test cricket. But he's been asked to do something very difficult, to open the batting against an Australian attack with Cummins and Hazelwood, who are 2 of the best that we've had, in a series where, other than Smith, Labuschagne and Stokes, no one has succeeded. Rory Burns to an extent, but basically 14 of the other specialist batsmen across the board have failed. So are you going to throw him out based on that, or are you going to say, if he'd been able to play, an away series against the West Indies, he may well have done quite well. So I don't think this is the time for major change. I would bring Sam Curran in, as I've been saying all along. It would be, Australian journalists have been saying it would have been silly for Australia to have not won the Ashes and not given Mitchell Stark a go. I feel that's the way with England, that he was the player of the series along with Kohli last summer. You've sort of relinquished the Ashes and not given him a go. I think that was a mistake. So I'd bring him in, but I wouldn't make too many major changes.
Just on the one we're talking about, Smith, he's got 2 centuries and 2 appearances at the Oval, which he was quick to remind Michael Atherton in his post-match interview. How have the Aussie papers reacted to this? Obviously taking the Ashes back, first time from English soil since 2001.
Yeah, it's been a great sense of triumph. It's missed the deadline because it was so late. It finished at 3:15, and I think they probably would have held things back as late as they could. So tomorrow's edition of the print papers will be going hard. But I think that there's just even some of the journalists that I've heard interviewed today, who are normally not cynical, but they're pretty hard bitten. They've seen it all. There's a little bit of emotion in their voices, and Australia, I think, for 100 years or more back in the day, it was when England came down, it was the superpower of the world playing us at their own game, a tiny little country at the bottom of the world. It was our chance to perform on what we thought was stage, and that's kind of gone through the generations. So every time we do manage to beat England, and it's been a while, and there's a sort of a national collective sense of, wow, we're very proud of ourselves today.
Oh, fantastic. Well, look, rightly so, you should be. I think you've thoroughly outplayed us, and it's been down to largely one man, and what a man that is, though. But somebody else who stepped up a little bit, I thought, was Tim Payne. I know there's been question marks about his captaincy, I suppose, or his position in the team, and but I thought he covered himself in glory yesterday, I thought.
Yeah, definitely, and you've just got to be happy for him. And he made the point, and as has been made a few times, that he was on the verge of accepting a job working for the Kookaburra Ball factory, because he had been out of the game for 4 years with a finger that just kept on getting broken. There seemed to be no pathway back for him to even have a viable career at state level. And so to have suddenly gone back into the Test side, become captain under the most difficult circumstances, face the criticism for what went wrong at Headingley, and then to have the guts to throw the ball to Labuschagne at that moment. And the fact that he was sort of in tears at the end showed how much it meant to him. He strikes me as the kind of guy that cries once every decade, and that might have been it for him.
Just a quick one on your pace attack. You know, obviously Cummins took the first 4 wickets, including the 2 on the Saturday night. With him, Hazelwood and Stark, there's not many better out there.
No, it's been really pleasing because they've been managed well as well. That they've come through these 4 very congested Test matches with no injuries. I think it was the right thing to play Siddle in the early matches. His record in those matches doesn't make for amazing reading. He's got an average sort of in the mid-30s, but I think he did a really important job. I think they held Stark back wisely, and he took some key wickets in this game. And, I mean, Cummins, for years, was the great hope of Australian bowling, and he just kept on getting injured. And now he's put 3 or 4 years, or 2 or 3 years together of high-class bowling. He's now got a bowling average kind of right at Glenn McGrath level. So it's pretty exciting, and Hazelwood, who had possibly dipped a little bit, seems to be absolutely back to his best as well.
And any changes for the 5th Test? Of course, Harris, Head and Warner in particular all have poor records so far this series.
Yeah, Australia tend to be very reluctant to change a winning side. I'd be amazed if they dropped David Warner, and I think that would be a major mistake because even if he doesn't succeed in the 5th Test, there have been players in the past from Australia who just haven't been able to get runs at Test cricket in England. Well, it's going to be 4 years till he needs to do that again. We play Pakistan in a couple of months' time, and I can guarantee all Pakistani players will be saying we'd be delighted if Warner was out of the equation. I would personally drop Head and bring back Khawaja, but I just don't see them doing that. Sorry, not Head, Harris, and bring back Khawaja. The other one is Nathan Lyon, that he has a callus on his finger that has been opened up, and he didn't bowl as well because of that. So with a Test match only 3 days away, potentially they'd look to rest him and maybe bring in John Holland, but that's probably the extent of it, unless any of the fast bowlers are sore.
Last time I was in the UK, I met national treasure Mary Berry's grandmother, Elderberry.
This is Love Sport. Home insurance is vital. You don't want to end up paying through the nose when something goes wrong. But are you being charged way too much for your home cover? Are your insurance premiums simply too much to bear? It doesn't have to be that way. A spokesmansaid.com is a price comparison website that trawls the internet to find the best deal for you. Don't pay the price for not shopping around. Visit a spokesmansaid.com and start saving today.
A spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work that way. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle, or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Love Sport.
You're back with Martin Bell and Paul Mortimer on Love Sport Radio, stepping in for the posh boys on the drive time. There's a couple of things I'm going to ask Paul in a minute. A little bit about overexposed stars, and we're going to come to it, okay? But we got to touch on this Huddersfield situation. We were talking about Danny Cowley, obviously at Lincoln. He's left Lincoln. He's gone to Huddersfield, and you said it's quite a rise quite quickly.
It is. Yeah. It's a big jump,
and it's it's managing. Is a big jump now. I just think anywhere, I think. Joined now by Ian Dunn, Huddersfield legend, who joins us. Evening, Ian.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good, very good. What do you make? What do you know of Danny Cowley?
Well, to be honest, probably as much as anybody else, really.
That's what I thought.
A young coach. He's come through. You clearly know that he's done well at Lincoln in recent years. What I would say is I went to the game, the Huddersfield versus Lincoln game, just a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, in the Carabao Cup. And at the end of the game, there were rumours at the end of that game that there was potential for a management change at Huddersfield.
Really?
And we joked. Seriously, we were by the touchline at the end of the game doing the interviews, and there was about an hour between Jan Sievert coming out to address the media and at the end of the game. So yeah, all sorts of gossip was starting at that point, if I'm to be brutally honest. And we joked. We said, you know what, if it does happen, they'd do worse than look at Danny Cowley. And I genuinely said that. We actually said that. Semi-joking, because obviously Jan Sievert was still in position at that point. But that Lincoln side, because we were trying to justify how Lincoln had gone to Huddersfield and they didn't beat them. They outplayed them. They were the better team by a stretch. So that is testament to how his team perform, and they performed really played really good football. So I think maybe that game is Phil Hodgkinson's took up and taken notice.
You should have had a tenner on it, to be fair. You should have had a punt. Obviously, it got to hit the ground running, starting the weekend against Sheffield Wednesday. How do you see that panning out?
Well, I mean, Sheffield Wednesday just got a new manager as well, I believe, this week. So it's going to be an interesting Yorkshire derby. It'll be full of fire, I'd imagine. He's only got a few days to speak to his team, get across some of it, try and get across what he wants to as soon as he can. That's not going to happen in the next few days. But it'll certainly be, I think he'll have the Huddersfield crowd with him on Saturday, so it'll be an interesting game.
Ian, where I'm at with this is it's almost parallel with Nathan Jones taking over from moving from Luton to Stoke. Same sort of situation where, for want of better words, a lower league manager that's had incredible success going to what is a Premier League club that's just hit the buffers. Now, where are Huddersfield at the moment? I know, in terms of results, I understand that, but where's the mindset of the players? Where are they at the moment? Because all they know how to do at the moment is lose or struggle.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to be under any illusion. I mean, that team, you're right, they're so mantra at the moment. They're losing games every week, and they are used to that. However, they're not a disastrous set of footballers. They've all got their own talents. The one thing I would say is that I honestly thought they'd go for a more experienced manager, because from what I hear from the ground, the club, some of the players are maybe not performing to their potential, and by that I mean that they're maybe not trying as hard as they should be, and that's a real damning thing to say. But it's the rumours, it's the gossip coming out of the club. Maybe a more experienced manager will get some more out of them. However, I'll flip that fully on what I've just said, is that Danny Cowley is an exciting young manager. He speaks well. Have you ever listened to his interviews after game? He speaks well. He sounds like he really does know what he wants, and he certainly got that in recent years with Lincoln. Personally, I'm quite excited. He's a young manager, a young English manager, going to a potentially a big club. This season it's been a bit of a write-off, but if he can get his letters across early doors, that club, he needs to really. It's almost a case of saving them this season and building for next season now. But you just never know with football. If he hits the ground running, and Huddersfield, they do have good players. If they react to him, they can go on a run. You never know. I'm forever the optimist, but he does need to hit the ground running if possible.
Do you think it's for players that have sort of played in the Prem and then they're playing a lower league? Is it hard to get motivated to go? It's a tough league to get out of, I know. But do you think, wait a minute, I was playing at some big stadiums before. Now is it hard? It must be hard to transcend that.
I think that's what I was alluding to earlier, where some of these lads have played in the Premiership, albeit losing games. But you're right, they've soaked up the big match atmosphere. Everything is focused on the Premiership, the Premier League, isn't it? And I just think maybe some of their mindsets, even though they know they're going down, they've gone into the Championship, and some of their mindsets maybe haven't been, they haven't been determined enough to challenge the Championship. The Championship's a tough old league, as we all know, to get out of. And if your mind isn't right for that challenge, you're going to struggle, which is what's happened to Huddersfield. And that's why the manager needs to get in there and really get everyone to pull their socks up and pull together and play to the potential. That I do think they have potential. There's some good players there.
I think this is where the manager earns his corn, because the manager's got to change that mindset. I think the problem you have sometimes, if you look at Huddersfield, whether you think their players are good, bad or indifferent, they're not Championship players. They are they're and like you say, their mindset, if they think they're better, then it's difficult, because it's a dog of a division where, to be truthfully honest, no team's going to run away with it. The top could beat the bottom. So every single game, there are no gimme games.
It's exciting for that.
It's exciting, but it's
we
also
know,
hard.
We know where the Prem's going to be, don't we? We know the top four, basically, but we don't know with this.
It's hard for players that haven't experienced it. So some of those Huddersfield players, some of the foreign players, there'll be a culture shock for them, because they're going to places where, I'm telling you, the ball is shelling down on them, and then they've got a midweek game, and then they've got another. Whereas in the Premier League, you get sort of 7 or 8 days off at some point. That's not happening.
And then they're going to witness snow and sleet.
The sort of snow and sleet that falls at places you didn't think it could fall.
Exactly.
I agree. I think that's a really good point. I think they've got that Premier League mindset. Hey, I'm a Premier League footballer playing in the Championship, but there's an argument to say you maybe have to try, and the top players work their socks off anyway, but you maybe have to try even harder in the Championship, or you have to have more about you in the Championship to really, you've got to stay in it, but to get back up, it's a tough ask.
Well, I tell you,
if your attitude's out right, you're going to struggle.
You're right. You're going to find yourself a Premier League player playing in League One, because it's happened to bigger clubs than Huddersfield that have gone down twice and found it very difficult. Even Sunderland, Portsmouth, they've not even recovered yet.
No.
So they've got to be careful, because I look at that division and I think the Championship this year is its most competitive. I think I think across the board, down to about 15th, 16th, it is incredibly competitive.
But I mean, what happened? I mean, there's something like Sunderland to slip down. This is what I'm saying. That the players must be thinking, "I want to be." Is there a lot of situation, Paul? You probably know this, where you would drop down and you'd be saying to your agent, "Get me out of here as quickly as possible. Get me back into a Prem club."
Yeah, most of the players that get relegated, unless they're on serious money, that is what they're going to be doing. They'll be saying to their agent, "I need you to get me out of it. I don't want to play in the Championship. Not for these. I want to be out. I'm too good for this."
What is Ian? What's the general feel from sort of around the people of Huddersfield on this appointment?
Oh, I mean, on the appointment, it's come at a time when they needed a lift, because the general attitude around the town with the fans is, they're lower than a snake's belly. Some of them, it's that bad. It's been 2 years really. The first year in the Premiership was exciting and an amazing achievement, staying up. This last season was, it was coming, but the fans at the start of this season felt, hey, there's enough here to bounce back up. I don't think they fully expected to get what they're getting, which has been a team that has just carried on losing. So I think there's an area of excitement that a young English manager can come in and hopefully turn these players around. It's a good point. Some of the foreign lads, it's an eye-opener for them, the Championship. So Danny Cowley's going to have to get into them straight away and say, shape up or ship out. If they're not good enough, he'll do his best. Like you say, the agents will try and get rid of them. But if they're not up to scratch for Danny Cowley, I'd imagine he's the kind of guy that will want to get his own lads in.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, like you said, he sounds good in his interviews. He's got a direct view of what he wants to do. Maybe that's what they've seen, and they've said, we need somebody like that to get him in early doors.
Definitely, yeah, and give him a chance. Give him a chance of doing something this season.
Yeah. Just got to ask you, we've asked everybody, always, on the show, who's the best. I'm going to ask you, who's the best player that you ever played against?
I didn't play at the top level. I reached Championship level, but certainly in cup games, we played against Arsenal one year at Highbury. And I was on the left-hand side. I was up against a certain Lee Dixon.
Right.
And he's not the most, it's not meaning to be disrespectful at all. It's probably not the most exciting player, but I tell you what a good footballer he was.
Really?
Fast, fit, strong, read the game, didn't give me an inch. Yeah.
Did he put you in the stand?
I think he tried to, but I was young enough then to get out of the way.
Okay, that's the first time we've ever had Lee Dixon, I've got to tell you. We've had many Paul Gascoignes, and we've had various...
Well, yeah, I should throw Ian Wright and Paul Merson in because they were unbelievable. But to play against Lee Dixon, mano v mano, he was, the realisation dawned on me that he was a different level of defender to what I was used to. Yeah. So, there you go.
Okay, we can stick Lee Dixon down there. I'll stick Merce on the board as well. Ian, thanks ever so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Ian Dunn there, Huddersfield legend. This is on the story that Huddersfield have signed a new manager that we're sort of saying that has just come out of nowhere. And it's funny when, something like this happens, Paul, you must see it as well, and you know some of the lower ranked managers that are probably doing a good job, and suddenly their name gets bandied around and it's like, oh, he's fantastic, and then he gets the big gig, and then it doesn't happen for him.
Do you know what? Sometimes it just doesn't work. There's absolutely nothing you can say or do about it. It just you do need a little bit of luck. You need the ball to go off someone's backside and get you off going, and that's what you need sometimes. But management is a difficult job, and you need to be lucky, but you need the support of your owners. You need owners with a steady hand. You need owners with bottle when it's not going well too. Because with most managers, I think when things are going well, me and you could manage the side. To be honest, there's very little to do. It's when things aren't going well. It's when a manager earns his corn. But the problem is they're not given, like Javi Gracias, for example. This is where he'd earn his corn. Is now being able to put things right. But they're never given the opportunity to. That's where they get the sack.
We'll go back because we mentioned Harry earlier, Harry Redknapp, and we said, so I did a feature last week, and I just want to get your opinions on this, right? Okay. Harry Redknapp, love Harry.
Yeah.
Myself and Sperling done some brilliant stuff with him over the years, and I did the thing, it was a before the World Cup, the Bobby Moore thing, that he done some great speaking about Bobby Moore for the family and stuff. And I love him. But he wins the jungle. He's doing jam roly-polies. He's on every betting thing that they can come up with. And he's just too overexposed, isn't he? Have we got too much Harry?
He makes me, I've got to say, he makes me laugh. I'll be honest with you. He is. He does crack you up. And he's become the housewife's favourite, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's where he is now. He's not even a football manager. He don't have to manage anymore. Oh, no. He's just the housewife's favourite now.
I mean, he didn't anyway. We've seen the giant house in Sandbank.
Yeah, he's not really struggling, is he?
He's not struggling for money, but it's just... And I love him. When he went in the jungle, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then when he come out, I'm thinking... That's brilliant, Harry. No, all right, you're on my screen again, Harry.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you're on my radio. I'm getting too much Harry.
Yeah, but he's a celebrity now. He's not a football manager. He's not Harry Redknapp, ex-football manager anymore. It's not. He's known for the jungle now. He's not. There'd be a lot of people out there who actually didn't know who he was.
True, yeah.
Who now only know him because of the jungle.
What did you think of him as a manager?
He had good teams. He knew good players. He could put good teams together. Let's not kid ourselves. He brought in good players. He put good teams together. Didn't win as much as I thought they would. I think there were some good cup sides he put together. I think he won the FA Cup with Portsmouth. Did he? I think so. Was it him?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So and if you remember that Portsmouth side, Sol Campbell, Paul Merson, people like Jermaine Defoe, Peter Crouch, I think played.
He did, yeah.
They had good sides. He's always been, and then of course latterly the bit at Spurs with Gareth Bale. I mean, those nights at White Hart Lane, the Inter Milan bit was magnificent.
Do you think he should have been given more time at Spurs?
Yeah, I didn't think he did much wrong there.
I didn't.
To be truthful, I didn't think he did much wrong, but I think that the current trend for managers, unfortunately, in the Premier League is foreign. It really is. I mean, people like Sean Dyche should have left Burnley by now. Should have been good enough, but they go for managers who've got very little experience. If you look at Daniel Farke at Norwich, I think he was a reserve manager. If you look at, I think Seward and Wagner at Huddersfield, they were reserve managers. We've got some good young English managers in this country who, unfortunately, and to be honest, if you look at someone experienced like Harry Redknapp, who did nothing wrong at Spurs and still lost his job, what chance of young English managers got? And it's a nonsense, really. But
we interviewed Harry years ago, me and Johnny, at the National Five-a-Side Championships for Sky, and he brought his dad over, who's also called Harry Senior. Right, so there's Harry Redknapp and Harry Senior, and he got him involved. He said, "Get me dad involved." I said, "Yeah, it's great." So it was at Hackney Marshes, so it was, it was the sort of home of football, of amateur football. And he said, "Dad, what about when you used to play over here?" And he said, "Yeah, that's right. We used to play over the marshes." And he said, "Well, tell him about what happened when you lost the ball." Well, we said, "What happened? The ball would go off the pitch, go in the river, go in the canal, and we didn't have another ball, so we'd go and have a pint down the road." It's just great, isn't it? I just love it. And it's strange enough that is on YouTube. You can get that on YouTube because I sent it to Harry because I think the old man is no longer with us. And he said, "Have you got that?" And I sent it to him last year, which is fantastic. But when we come back, I just want to talk a little bit more about some overexposed stars. I want to get Paul's opinion on them.
This is Love Sport. Have you had enough of extortionate energy bills? A spokesman said could help you find the cheapest energy deals on the market. Don't take our word for it. There's hundreds of spokesman said customers who've saved big. Brian from Derbyshire saved £400 on his energy bills, and Tony from Northampton saved a massive £2,800 on his gas and electric. A spokesmansaid.com, the leading price comparison site where you can switch to the cheapest energy tariffs on the market in just minutes.
The spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
Hi, I'm Barry. I'm a retired school bursar from Chingford. I thought I was paying too much for my energy and went onto a spokesmansaid.com and found that I could reduce my costs overall by £568 per annum, and I'm very grateful for that help.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit WEDOOH.com. We Do, the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
I have a strong connection with Scotland. I believe my tan shade is iron blue.
This is Love Sport.
You are listening to Martin Bell and Paul Mortimer on Love Sport Radio. We just mentioned Harry Redknapp, saying he was a little bit overexposed on TV. The other one, which we will come back and talk about, I want to ask you about James Corden.
Okay.
Too overexposed?
I like him. Yeah, but he is. I mean, he's on everything at the moment. Every advert he's on, and it's about getting that balance right, because the public will soon go, "Oh no, we don't want to sit." Not him again.
I know, and that's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
We'll come back. We'll talk about it. We're going to switch a little bit. Obviously, we've been talking about cricket and a lot about football. We're going to talk a little bit about the rugby, and we're joined now by guest Victor Abogu, former England prop. Evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Very good, very good. What did you make of England's last warm-up game against Italy? Fairly easy, wasn't it?
It was a fairly easy win, but there was still quite a few errors from the team. 37-0. I'm sure they set out to nil the Italians, which they did. There were quite a lot of players I should expect in the final warm-up game trying too hard. That was always going to be an issue. But they withstood some strong pressure from the Italians and won quite comfortably. Which is great. Which is great news.
Victor, is it enough of a challenge going into the World Cup? Is there a possibility that they could go in undercooked and not quite ready? Because 37-0, and I saw bits and pieces of it, it didn't look enough of a challenge for the England players.
Yeah, it didn't look enough of a challenge, but a lot of the combinations were playing together for the first time. It's been a long few months of training, and they would have been training through these games. They had to play 4 games in advance, at an international level. It's quite a tough call, especially with the team flying out. I think they left on Sunday. So you've got one mind on making sure that you stay okay to get on that flight to Japan. So it's one of those very weird fixtures to sort of finish up on. But on the whole, I mean, they've done very well in the four games that they've played, and I think they're in a very good position going to Japan.
And the squad. Looking at the squad, and do you think it's balanced enough? I mean, if I look at our football squad at the moment, Gareth Southgate is introducing so many more young players into the squad, young, hungry ones. Is this Rugby World Cup squad? Is it strong enough? Does it have enough balance? Is it good enough to go all the way?
They've got a good enough team, a good enough squad, good enough players to go all the way. I mean, the last. Those warm-up matches showed the strength that England has, the physicality that the forwards have, and we've got some good pace in the back row, in the back three, like Johnny May, strong ball-carrying forwards, Billy, 2 very fast flankers, solid second row, solid front row. We're capable of beating any team on any given day. The issue that we're going to face is whether we can put 4 good performances together. And that's something we struggle with in the Six Nations.
I did a gig recently with Brad Barrett, and I was trying to ask him and trying to sort of say to him, have we got any way that we can repeat what we did in 2003? And it was hard to get an answer out of him. I just wanted to know. Are we anywhere near that calibre?
It is the most open World Cup, and there are a number of teams who, on the day, are capable of winning, of beating each other. I mean, Ireland, New Zealand, Wales, South Africa, Australia, England. Any of those teams that are capable of beating each other on a game day. So there is no out and out dominant side.
Would the weather make any difference in Japan? Is that going to affect anybody? Is it going to favour anyone?
It's not going to favour anyone because it's going to be quite hot and sticky. So all the players will suffer from that type of weather. But England have got a very tough pool. They've got France and Argentina. France, you just never know who's going to turn up on the day. So they've got a good enough players to win on a one-off. Argentina always turn up in the World Cup and get to sort of the quarters of the semis. So it's going to be quite a tough pool for England to get out of. Also, I think there's a typhoon there recently, and if any of the pool games have to be cancelled, then the results are going to be deemed a draw. It's not going to be replayed. So that may well affect some of the pool stage results. But going forward, in terms of the knockout, I'm expecting out of England's pool for England and I think England and Argentina to get through, and we'll be meeting Wales or Australia.
Can I ask? I mean, you've sort of said England got a tough group. I mean, Tonga, USA, Argentina, France. Now, 5-6 years ago, we'd have been looking at that and going, "Yeah, we'll beat them. Yeah, we'll beat them." Is it the progression that the opponents have made? Have they got much better, or have England not improved as much? Is the gap closer than it was before?
Well, the gap is closer than it was before. I mean, quite a lot of the Argentinian players are playing in France. They've also had exposure in the Rugby Championship, so they're playing New Zealand, Australia, South Africa annually, which is only going to strengthen their rugby skills and knowledge. And so it's a lot closer as the game develops over the time. So a lot more people playing, and we're not gone are the days where the sort of Argentina stayed in Argentina and were playing amongst each other, so they didn't really get to learn and develop at the pace that they are now. With them playing in the Rugby Championship, playing in France, playing in the Premiership. So those players have had international exposure.
How big a miss is Vunipola going to be with it looking like he's going to miss most of the pool stage?
Sorry, I missed the first bit.
How big a miss is Vunipola going to be with him missing most of the pool stage?
I mean, Marco he's a very good prop, very quick, and plus, he's got some leadership skills on the park, which has helped the England team grow. Now, he will be missed, but we've got the likes of Genge who are coming through. I mean, he showed on Friday night at the Italy game what he's capable of. I mean, this is Carl Sinclair. He's right up there in terms of performance. So there are good enough players that can get the job done. I mean, our pack is going to be a very physical pack, and we'll.
Yeah, you don't want any weeds in there, do you?
You don't.
Only skinny ones.
You don't. They'll be able to front up and destroy most opposition packs.
Victor, I'm not going to ask you about England winning it, but if not England, you've said it's wide open. If not England, who could win it? Who would you like to see win it? If not England,
I mean, South Africa are growing and peaking at the right time. I mean, they beat New Zealand. They won the Rugby Championship, and they again are another physical side, and they've got an excellent backline as well. So they're potentially going to win it.
Okay, all right. Well, let's hope that we win it, obviously, and no doubt we'll be speaking to you coming up to it.
Sure.
And really, really appreciate you joining us, Victor Ibogu, there, former England prop. It's a funny one, really, because I've sort of get into a situation where we've had so much going on over the summer, so many sporting events, and we get to a situation where we think, actually, we've got quite good at something. It's even like the women's football. We went, actually, we're really good at this, and we've started to progress in so many sports.
Brilliant.
And are we placing too much in like that we think we're going to win everything?
Well, the thing about it is, we are now competing at the sharp end.
Yeah.
It's not that we think we can win everything. We are in the conversation. We are. We're there or thereabouts. Even with football.
Because let's face it, let's go back. Even
you don't have to go back that far. I'm telling you don't really.
No, but to think, will we get out of the group stages? And now we do believe, don't we?
We can even win a penalty shootout, which let's be honest, it was unheard of. We went into penalty shootouts where we may as well pack up and go home because we'd never winning them. We've done that. That curse has gone, and the women's football team's doing fantastic. The cricket's been brilliant. It's just been a great summer, and if we could top it off with going to Japan and winning the World Cup, that would be absolutely magnificent.
On penalties, by the way, did you take penalties?
Yeah, I did.
Go on.
Yeah, I did.
How did you go?
One penalty shootout we had was in some sort of cup competition at Charlton in the late 80s, and I scored.
Yeah.
I missed one penalty. I took about 7 or 8 penalties. I missed one penalty, and that was against Leeds United, and my old teammate Nigel Martin's in goal.
Yeah.
And he was a great keeper. I always had the better of him. I don't care. And so he's trying to read me. We're laughing at each other, and I've always looked to play to my left. and just whipped it into the right-hand corner.
I'm the opposite. Yeah.
Don't watch the eyes, that one. Yeah. But what's actually happened is, and no one will believe me, but my standing foot, as I'm just about to strike the ball, slips. Wow. So I get too much of the ball and it hits the post. Yeah. I still think I scored. To this day, I still think I scored at the blinking post.
Well, that's funny you say that. I said to you, I play for Iron Maiden, right? Okay, the rock bands. I've played for them for 17 years, and we're all getting so old now that people sort of have to get craned in, you know. And I was the penalty taker, and I was 9-0. Okay.
Oh really?
Yeah, 9-0. I've got all me, and I've put them all in the same place.
Yeah.
Put the ball down, but I give a little look to the right hand corner that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And I open my body up really nice, run at the ball, and I curl it with the inside of my foot into the bottom left.
Yeah.
Always worked. Great. So we played in this tournament yesterday, and I won the penalty. And the wonderful Teddy Sheringham put the ball over. I sort of went in for a dummy. And when I say a dummy, I just didn't want to do the tackle, if I'm honest.
He bottled it.
He bottled it. No, I properly bottled it. And even the people behind the goal went, that's a dive. Anyway, I got the pen and said, do you want it? I said, yeah, I'll take it. And I thought, here we go. It's the five-a-side goal.
Yeah.
So it's rubbish goals, isn't it? And I've done all my warm-up. I've looked in the corner, and I virtually hit it. I've hit it bottom left, but the keeper, it's in the middle bottom left.
Oh god, savable.
And it was awful. And I walked away, I thought, it had to be the 10th one, didn't it? I was 9-0, and that's, for me, that's it now, Paul. There's no more pens.
No, you can miss one. That's all right. All the best missed one.
Well, he's missed a few too.
Yeah, you're all the best missed one. They still don't quit. Yeah. You can't quit.
Who's the best penalty taker?
The one who took one for Charlton was Clive Mendonca. He's just a great goal scorer, he's a great player. Simple as that. He just didn't miss. I mean, I look at Harry Kane at the moment, and he's got the touch of Alan Shearer's about him.
We said about it on Thursday, I think, and we said about Shearer. He always used to drag it into that corner.
I used to love watching Shearer.
Terrible celebration.
Yeah. No. Listen, it's the governor of celebrations because I want that celebration because you know he scored.
I said the same.
With Shearer, we used to all sit there and go, right, we're starting one up because Shearer's going to score. Yeah. So now we just got to worry about all the others. That's what we always used to say. We just wait. Shearer's going to score, so don't even worry about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about him. We're going to lose.
Yeah,
we're going to lose.
And it's funny though. In fact, when we come back, I want to ask you about the sort of the certain characters that you've played with and stuff like that. About the ones who step up and say, "I'll take a penalty."
Yeah,
it's a good talking point. We're going to have a little chat about that. Don't go anywhere. It's 5:47.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
Hi, I'm Dean. I work for a successful shipping company in Suffolk. Ever since I heard about people's success with the spokesmansaid.com, I knew I had to investigate for myself. Every time I need to compare car insurance, home insurance and energy bills, I always contact a spokesmansaid.com. This year alone, I saved over £260 on my car insurance and also £585 on my energy bills. I saved big through a spokesmansaid.com, and you could too.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work that way. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you'd do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics. All better.
Love Sport.
You're back with Martin Bell and Paul Mortimer on Love Sport. And we were just talking a little bit about the old days, about just very, very briefly about how people get scouted and stuff like that. And you said that you started off playing. You got scouted as playing five-a-side.
Yeah, I played for a team called Red Star. Played in Partick Thistle kit. It was brilliant.
Oh, did you?
Our coach Barry Leach was just the top man, just the best coach, and we won everything. We won everything, and he wangled for us. We used to train at as a Herodian club, like Harrods.
Yeah.
The store had its own sort of sports and leisure club, and it was right across the river from Fulham's ground.
Yeah.
And that's where we used to, and what we used to do, the funny thing was the showers were something special.
Green and gold.
And
gold.
And we'd block what we used to do is we'd turn on all the showers, block the drain, and then just swim. It was like that. We'd just muck about.
Really?
It was just a different world. We had to behave ourselves in there, but it was brilliant.
What a wonderful, wonderful. But to get scouted in a five-a-side,
yeah, five-a-side, Lily Road Rec,
which you don't do now. I mean, you go through the academy situation.
Don't do it now. Don't do it now. Different world.
All right, I shall tell you about my upbringing. It wasn't as nice. We never trained at Harrods, Hackney Marshes, with no lights on a Friday night. It's terrible. Just everyone's got to find the ball. Listen, we're joined now by Maria, the Red Imps Community Trust and Lady Imps Supporters Organisation. This is following on from the sign of Danny Cowley from Lincoln City. How are you, Maria?
Devastated, like everybody. I think the whole of the city, it'd be fair to say, is probably in a bit of shock.
Really?
And in mourning, absolutely.
Really? It was that powerful, was he?
Oh, hugely powerful. What they've done in 3 years for this city has been nothing less than just incredible. They've led us on such an amazing journey, and it's just gutting to see them go.
Maria, did you not ever see it coming? Because they have been on such an upward trajectory, and all the last jobs that people have been up there, their name's been first every time. So I'm sure at some point emotionally you were having to prepare yourself for this.
I think it's fair to say lots of us have. It's been talk for quite some time about, it's not if they're going to go, but when. So I think in terms of today, it's just the timing. So as much as you can kind of foresee perhaps a relationship ending at some point, when it actually happens, the day it happens is still a massive shock, and there's some reverberations and a huge amount of emotion flying around.
Tell me what's so great about him. We just spoke to an ex-Huddersfield legend who said he speaks so well after the game. He's got such great ideas. Is that what was great about him?
Yeah, so what you get with Danny Cowley as well is you get Nicky Cowley. So you've got the brothers who clearly work so well together, understand each other. They live, eat, breathe football, and it's not just the results on the pitch. So it's the whole kind of off-pitch other side of themselves that they bring to what they do. They come from a really tight-knit family. They have great values, good ethos. They're intelligent. They're thoughtful. They're generous with their time. So everything outside of the 90 minutes on a Saturday, they are giving to the fans, to the city. They've got time for people. They'll talk and engage with people. Brilliant with kids. So their teaching background, I think, has brought a lot to the roles that they do and the way they behave and interact with the people of the city.
I think the best thing about them, and it sounds really weird, is like you say, their teaching background. They weren't football people. I think that's hugely important because it injects a little bit of realism into life, because sometimes when you're within football you can become cocooned in some sort of bubble where you think there's nothing else in life. But what I wanted to ask you is, how are you going to replace them? You've just spoken at length about how big an impact, how big a footprint that they've left on the community, not just the football club. Who?
It's the worrying thing for us. So absolutely, they have built us up in such a short period of time, and obviously we are going to want to hold on to that. We don't want to start sliding back down. We want to really build on the legacy that they've given us, the things that they've done to enhance the club in terms of its infrastructure and where it sits, not just in the league table, but all the other facilities that are attracting players and attracting investment. We need to cling on to that and build that. I think where we are really lucky is that we've got an amazing board of directors and investors that actually, looking at wanting to build this club in a sustainable way, and not trying to fall into the pitfalls that sadly other clubs have fallen into in the past. So yeah, there's going to be not just one pair of shoes to fill. The next person that comes into this role has 2 pairs of shoes to fill. So yeah, it's going to be a massive ask. And I've heard kind of talks on, from supporters talking about, Gareth Ainsworth or Michael Flynn or somebody, so the people are talking about their wish list, I guess. So,
is there nobody within the club that has learnt from the brothers, if you like? Is there nobody sort of sitting, that they can tap into within the club?
Jamie McCoon is going to take over for the foreseeable, but I think they will be looking for. Now, I think they'll be looking for somebody with some more kind of experience who can jump in right now. I don't think we're in a position now that we were 3 years ago where we can develop somebody. We need somebody to be able to come in and kind of take the reins and gallop off in the right direction straight away.
Well, we certainly hope that you do that, and really appreciate you joining us in such sad circumstances. You sound sadder than it's like. Oh dear.
It's been an absolutely thrilling ride, and nobody in the city and none of the supporters begrudge Danny and Nikki going on to bigger and better things. We wish them all well. We want to see them absolutely fly and do brilliantly. Yeah, we're going to nurse our broken hearts for a bit, but we support the football club, not just 2 individuals. So they're leaving us in the best place that anybody could have ever left us. So we have to be grateful for that and do them proud.
Maria, we wish you well and hope that it all goes well for you. Maria, the Red Imps Community Trust and Ladies Imps Supporters Organisation. I said that in true Posh Boy because we're standing for the Posh Boys.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? I can't do that. You did it very, very. But then you're a mimic. You can mimic well. I can't speak that way. I sound like Chris Eubank when I do that. So no, it's not for me. Thank you very much.
I love that. Well, it's very hard to replicate Posh Boy because we named him Posh Boy. Obviously,
yeah, I know you did. Hilarious. Do you remember way back when he was a little teenager? And
spotty.
Yeah, look at him now. Runs the place.
Fantastic. Listen, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the Ashes. Don't go anywhere.
This is Love Sport.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So, I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
Coming up, we're going to be talking about the 5th test at the Oval. England named an unchanged squad. We're going to be asking, can they do it? Can we at least get a draw? Can we get something out of it? Obviously, Steve Smith has ruined it for everybody. We had such a good summer. Everything was going well, and then they brought this fella called Steve Smith. He got involved. We're going to go through some of the sporting tournaments that we've had over the summer, and it really has been quite some summer. And we're going to go through all of them. Myself, Martin Bell, and Paul Mortimer are here until 7 o'clock. Don't go anywhere.
on digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 6. The Commons Speaker says he'll stand down at the next general election or on October the 31st, whichever comes first. John Bercow insists his departure by the current Brexit deadline is the least disruptive and most democratic course of action. Speaking in Parliament, the 56-year-old was visibly emotional as he paid tribute to his family.
And above all, my wife Sally and our 3 children, Oliver, Freddie and Jemima.
Meanwhile, the Queen has approved a law blocking a no-deal Brexit at the end of October, and MPs are voting tonight on whether they want a snap general election next month for a second time in as many weeks. It's expected to end in defeat. But Mr Johnson insists Britain will somehow be leaving the EU at the end of next month.
I'm absolutely undaunted by whatever may take place in Parliament, because I think what the British people want us to do is to deliver a deal and to get on and take us out on October the 31st.
Almost all British Airways flights were grounded today as their pilots walked out in a bitter dispute over pay. Their union says support for the first day of a 48-hour strike was virtually 100%. An inquest heard a 16-year-old CBBC star hanged herself after suffering exam stress. An assistant coroner concluded Mylisha Naylor's death was misadventure and that she didn't intend to take her own life. Primark's owner is promising customers that prices won't go up despite it seeing costs jump, partly due to Brexit. Associated British Foods says it's prepared to take a hit to profits rather than pass increases on to shoppers. In sport, Scotland look to bounce back from Friday's defeat to Russia when they take on Belgium in Euro 2020 qualifying this evening. Steve Clarke's side lost 2-1 at Hampden despite taking an early lead. That's the latest. I'm Daisy Steele.
Love Sport Radio, on digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is the Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive.
Good evening, everybody. You're listening to Martin Bell and Paul Mortimer standing in for the Posh Boys, who have gone off to, I think they've gone to Buckingham Palace.
Where have they gone?
I don't know.
Yeah. The garden party, is it?
Garden party.
Yeah.
Queen's garden
with
party.
With their family.
Yes. So we're standing in for the Posh Boys tonight, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about the Ashes, the 5th test at the Oval, and just talking about Steve Smith. What a stinker he is. We're also going to be talking about some of the sporting events that have happened throughout the year and go through them and just see what we think about those. And we're also talking about AJ being quizzed about Saudi Arabia's human rights record. Don't know what that is, but we'll have a look.
They have a terrible human rights record.
Yes, ridiculous. So this all coming up. Anthony Joshua says women's fights could be on the undercard of his Saudi Arabia rematch with Andy Ruiz Jr. Stick around because we are here until 7 o'clock. There you go. Just go for it. We come back to that AJ thing, Paul. But let's go through some of these sporting events that we had. The Nations League.
Yeah.
Now, when we started a year ago, myself and Johnny Spurling, our first show, it was meant to be countdown to kick-off.
Yeah.
And we turned up on the Saturday and they said there's no games. You've got to talk about the Nations League. It's like, right, this is good. And at first we said that, what's the point of this? Who come up with this plan? And then the more we discussed it, we said, actually, friendlies are a waste of time because it's pointless. In fact, some people said there wasn't even turning up at Wembley. There were so many people, spare seats. But it gave us a purpose, didn't it?
Opportunity to win something. And an opportunity that, I say, it was a good chance to win stuff, because we were playing well at the time, and some of the others, Germany and people like that, were struggling. But the funniest thing for me was, because I can remember the start, could you explain the content and the context of it.
Yeah.
No one could. I mean, I think they had something on BBC where they had a film of someone explaining it.
Yeah.
Halfway through the film, you're sort of falling asleep. It was just so long and convoluted. Right. No one could explain it. All I cared about was that we got to the semi-finals and we were with a great chance of winning it.
But that was the fact. It was like nobody really cared. And in the first game, we went, hang on a minute. I think we're getting involved in this.
I kind of like this. This England winning stuff on a regular basis, winning games that matter. Yeah, I think it's a great idea because friendlies, we all moaned about friendlies. They're a waste of time. And I feel sorry for an England manager because it's the only way you can have a look at players is friendlies.
Yeah.
It's the only way because you don't want that Scott Carson situation where we had to fling him into a game having not really played because if you look at what happened, he struggled. Not his fault.
Of course, yeah.
That should have taught us that we need our players ready to go.
In some of those days that I do remember, I remember there was loads of stories bandied about England players that were sort of that were going to be first choice on the list anyway.
Yeah,
and they would get a friendly the other side of the world, and they go, "I've actually got a little twinge in my back." Now I can never. None of us who've kicked a ball in our life can imagine saying, "I don't want to pull an England shirt on." But I think that happened a lot when it was just friendlies, don't you?
Yeah, most definitely. Because the thing about it is you never knew whether you were going to play. Some good players decided not to play for England anymore. Carragher, Ben Foster, people like that. What is the point of going around the world and sitting on a bench?
Yeah.
And the thing about it is knowing you weren't going to play. Knowing you weren't going to play, and then if you did play, you played 2 or 3 minutes here. You've travelled all over the world for a week away to play for 2 or 3 minutes. And when you do that in 3, 4 and 5 different camps, now you're starting to think, well, hold on, I've spent 3 years in the England squad, haven't played. I don't want this anymore, because that is a period where you could be at home resting, because remember, it's always during the season, with your families. Now, as much as you want to play for England, it's about playing for England is about playing, not being in the squad.
No, agreed. You was around at that period of time. Do you know players that would have ducked it? Without mentioning, but
yeah, definitely. I mean, and
you'd be thinking, I'll have a go.
Well, loads of us would be thinking, I'd want to have a go. I mean, me and England were unfortunate. I mean, I played for the under-21s, Toulon tournament, and I was sleeping. We lived in Tooting at the time. I was sleeping, and phone rang. I think it was someone from Charlton telling me, you've been called into the England squad. Half a dozen players got injured, and I'm like, yeah, right, okay, put the phone down. And then they rang back, and they kept ringing. Okay, fine, fantastic. Went away, played well, but then what happened is I came back. Barclays First Division at that time. See how old it was.
Yeah.
And they had an award for the Players of the Month, and I was the Barclays Young Eagle of the Month, in the best young player of the month. My manager later on said to me, the European Championships coming up, the qualifiers. I think we're playing Sweden, in Sweden. And he said to me, "You're going to be in the squad. You're going to be in the squad." So I'm sitting there, but you can't tell anyone. Okay, England have got in touch with us. They've been impressed. You're going to be in the squad. So I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be in the England squad. I can't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Told my wife. I tell her everything. Told my wife. Squad was named. I wasn't in it. So I'm sort of sitting there going, My manager says to me, there was some sort of muck up with your date of birth. They put it down wrong or something like that, and that's why they thought you were too old, so you couldn't play.
No.
Never got the opportunity again.
Oh, it's terrible.
And that's heartbreaking, because who knows what would have happened from that? You don't know. But but I can understand people not wanting to travel. Especially when you get to a certain age, and the thing about it is when you know through that golden generation there were half of we always think of the Lampards and Gerrards, half a dozen players on the bench who never played, who travelled all over the place and never played. Now, that's not playing for England. That isn't playing for England. That's just travelling, and filling a number.
Just being part of the...
And that's what I like about Southgate. Every player I think is playing. He's going to play a part. That's what I like about Phil Neville as well with the England women. They all played in the World Cup, apart from one goalkeeper. Everyone played. So everyone had the opportunity. And what he's saying is the squad is good enough that everyone can play and the team is strong enough. Now, that's not realistic, I suppose. But, if you go with an England squad, you're going with the belief that you have the opportunity to play. When you know you're not playing, and I'm sorry, there's half a dozen players who travelled to England, knew they weren't playing.
Yeah, I think we all look at it sometimes, don't we? And we go, why? Yeah. Why is it? I mean, you know, why take 3 goalkeepers? Really?
Some were taking 4. I mean, I can remember Theo Walcott going to the World Cup
as a goalkeeper.
And well, he might as well have been, because he never got a kick, and I felt sorry for the boy, because that scrutiny impacted on the early part of his career.
Do you think it did? Yeah?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt, he'd hardly played. I think he just moved to Arsenal. He'd hardly played. Hardly played many games for Southampton, and I think it ruined him.
We all thought that. Me and my mates were talking about the time when he went. Really?
Yeah. Because now he's under scrutiny.
Yeah.
When really he needed to be under the radar. Was he 17, 16, 17? He should have been under the radar.
No, you're right.
You take 3 or 4 of the under-21s just for them to have a look at it. But you're not taking them to play. You're taking them to just come join training and get involved. I don't mind that. But you took him and he was never going to play. And I just... Everyone who goes to the World Cup has to be within the mind that if I need him, I can call on him, and I think sometimes they're mistakes.
Yeah, it's just
don't need 3 goalkeepers though.
Well, you don't, do you? Yeah. You know, it's I still don't.
What if you're the 3rd goalkeeper? You know you're never playing. You know
you don't you?
You know.
What about the just? I know we're still talking about England and the Nations League. What about the players that get told? Was it Trent? No, was it Francis who got? Who was it who got called out? He'd gone on holiday.
Yeah.
And then he got called up and he says, "You got to fly over." Who was that? Not Trevor Francis. No. He was a West Ham.
Sinclair.
Trevor Sinclair.
Yeah.
God, of course it was. The greatest bicycle kick I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
And he went away, didn't he? And then he'd come back. And
that's what happens sometimes.
Can you imagine his wife?
Yeah, she's not going to be happy.
Packing the bag, just go.
No, not going to be. But you can't turn it down.
Of course you can't.
You can't, because if you turn that down, you are never going to get anywhere near it again.
You're never going to get.
You can't turn it down. So you'll have to rubber ear the wife just for a little while. She'll have to give you the grief, and you'd have to take it.
Just looking at let's go to the England Cricket World Cup.
Yeah.
Now, like you said earlier, Paul, that your family were watching it. There was not mad in the house, the cricket, and same in mine, really. My son started going on a Friday night, and to be honest with you, his life is football.
Yeah.
And I took him cricket, and I watched him for about 5 minutes. He flicked it up with the back of his legs and tried to volley it.
Yeah. Must have hurt his foot. Broken toe.
Yeah, exactly. But I just, it's not so... But everybody was in our living room watching that Stokes situation, and that was another thing when he slid in with the bat and hit the corner of the bat and he went out for 4. And I said to you earlier, I said, what's the rules there?
Well, I have I'm sitting there thinking, well, we're winning it. We're winning it. You can't, because like when they recreate things that have happened. You couldn't do that again.
Couldn't do it.
You couldn't, and that's why I thought, well, we're going to win.
I almost thought
we're going to win.
Nobody knows what the rules are, because it's never happened.
Yes.
I mean, if they throw the ball to the stumps and you run in and your bat stops it and the ball stops there, okay, I understand what could happen. But the fact that he hit the bat and went out for 4,
I don't think they knew. I looked at the umpires. You sitting there thinking they don't know.
Yeah.
They because like you say, you've never legislated for that.
No.
But I looked at it and thought, well, we can't not win now. We can't, and I think they got the sums wrong. I think it should have been 4 or it was given 5 or 6. It should have been 4 or something like that.
Yeah, they were still sort of disputing whether it should have been a draw.
They weren't even sure.
Do you know what? I put it. We've all got our WhatsApp chats, haven't we? And I put it on our WhatsApp chat with a few of the boys who were on holiday at the time. They're like, "You talking about cricket for? You're talking about football. What are you talking about cricket?" And I said, "Listen, you've got to see what happened. Whatever you do, I don't care where you are in the world, just tune in for the last 20 minutes. Because it's one of the most... How a game like cricket could become that exciting.
For me, it was magnificent. Like I said, my family, I watch cricket all the time. It drives them nuts sometimes. But everyone sat and watched it, glued to the TV screen. Grandson, daughters, everyone, my son, my wife, we just all sat in our front room, transfixed to the screen, didn't want to go anywhere because it was just breathtaking, wasn't it?
When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Wimbledon. That happened in the summer, the Open Championship. Also want to talk a little bit about Tiger Woods, about really how someone like that can come back and do what he did. It's just quite amazing. You listen to Martin Bell and Paul Mortimer. Don't go anywhere!
Love Sport.
Hi, my name's Bob. I'm a retired civil servant from Durham. I used the advice that a spokesman said gave me to haggle with Sky to reduce my monthly payments from £86 per month to £43 per month, which was a saving of £774 over the 18-month contract. A nice little result, if I say so myself, but it was only due to a spokesman said on his brilliant advice that I was able to do a deal for the new contract.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work that way. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
I am what would happen if the comments section became human and ran for president.
This is Love Sport.
You are back with Martin Bell and Paul Mortimer and Love Sport. And we've just been going through some of the amazing sporting events that happened this summer. And I just wanted to say about Wimbledon, because Federer, beautiful man, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He's beautiful.
He is.
And we love him. And everybody at Wimbledon wanted him to win.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Every point was cheered. Now, that must have been so hard for Djokovic. You know, that shows strength of character and strength of mind to get over it and to win the match.
Yeah, I think he understands that when it comes to Federer, he's always going to be the pantomime villain. I think he knows that. I think he can deal with it. I think, in fact, he's not as loved as much as Federer.
No,
he's not. He's
not marketable,
no,
is he?
He's not.
Why.
He seems, as I say, seems miserable, but he's always painted that way. So he kind of understands in this soap opera where he sits, who he is and where he sits, and he's cool with that. I mean, you know, he'll mentally be able to. You know, you don't win 16 Grand Slams.
No.
He'll mentally be able to cope with it, and he should have lost because Federer had match points, had championship points, so he knows he should have lost, but to be able to stave that off and come back and win shows incredible mental strength and fortitude, doesn't it? I mean,
that's what I said about, you know, I said about Theresa May recently, you know, when everybody is shouting, I would have go, shut that door.
Yeah.
I'm going home now.
Right.
Your bottom lip will go, won't it? Most of the time. And I looked at him there and thinking he's playing against Federer. Everybody wants Federer to win. And he showed such character.
Well, that's a motivational tool there to shut everyone up.
Yeah. Yes.
Because that will motivate you more than I can shut these lot up. I'm going to beat him. So you roll your sleeve. You see it two ways. So either all that shouting either gets you, becomes a millstone around your neck and tires you out, or it's a challenge and you roll your sleeves up and that enthusiasm and desire kicks in.
Yeah. It's strength of character.
Yeah.
So on the football field, when you had fans having a go at you, you know, I know a couple of mates have had like, you're not good enough to play, and get that fridge off your back.
Oh, I've had loads.
And all that.
I've had loads.
How do you deal with it?
No, it's brilliant. I mean, I had a fan say to me, as the ball's gone off, I'm playing at Palace, dark times, and the fan said to me, you can relax and play now, you know, because all the subs have been used, so you can't be taken off, even though you should have been. I turned to him and went, do you know what? You are right. I should have been taken off. And he went, I didn't know what to say. So I don't mind the stick as long as it's done in the right way. When it becomes personal because of characteristics, I'm a black guy, then that's different. But there are times where, I mean, I remember having a pop at a ref, and he said to me, just because you're having a stinker. He went, I'm not having a stinker just because you're having one. And I looked at him and went, fair play. And it was so funny. And he ran off. He went, Morty lad, you're having a stinker. I'll forgive you that. It's all right. And it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes football banter can be so funny. I remember we played Newcastle. There's a year at Charlton where they were renovating the Valley. So our first 4 games were away from home. Newcastle, Manchester United, Arsenal and Southampton away from home, believe it or not. So we're 0-0 at Newcastle. And I'm on the pitch, I'm relaying a story that someone had told me, like Richard Rufus gets sent off, so we're down to 10 men and we are killing time like you wouldn't believe. Ball comes by the dugout. Mervyn Day, the ex-West Ham goalkeeper,
Mervyn, loved him.
Tips it over the bar, over the seats into the stand.
He would have tipped it over with no gloves. By the way. No gloves.
So Kenny Dalglish is in the other box. He said, "Christ Almighty, Merv, that's rare for you. You'd have tipped it in the net normally." Everyone sort of cried on the bench, and that's the kind of football banter. It was really, it can be really funny, you know.
Do you think that I was at one of the early games last year at West Ham against Chelsea, and I was in a different part of the pitch that I normally sort of go to. I was down in the corner flag, and William came over to take a corner, and the amount of fans that rushed that corner and just firing abuse.
Yes, right.
And I'm a West Ham fan. I'm going.
It's the norm.
I'm going. Seriously?
It's the norm.
Because I don't normally sit there, so I don't hear it.
It's the norm. Unfortunately, in some parts of certain pitches, it's the norm now to abuse players. Any player. The ball comes out. I've sat in stadiums and just been stunned by what I'm hearing, and it's like, why are you doing that? Listen, players' performances are there to be critiqued, without a doubt. There's so many things. I tend to think that sometimes football has some of the most sharpest people when it comes to giving people grief, because they can pick on the colour of your socks and give it to you. Do you know what I mean? Your shorts are a bit tight, they'll give it to you, and that's great. That's compared to what we're hearing now. What we're hearing now is abuse. It's not stick.
Yeah.
And we need to go back to those days where it was about you are rubbish. You're poor. You're rubbish. And the player will go, do you know what? Yeah. You're quite right. Or it'll be like that one. Do you want to come out and play then?
I'm just wondering whether there was players that that would turn to the crowd and have a bit of a laugh.
Used to be, yeah.
And would probably actually, he's all right.
Yeah. That's what used to happen.
There again, we've got so many foreign players here. Like, do you think that they're not on our wave?
They're not on our wavelength, but also the football fan has changed.
Yes.
Because it's now vitriol, it's now nastiness, it's now, like I say, I've sat there and it's not meant. So you're the player on the pitch. The grief I'm giving you is not meant for you to come back at me. It's for you to just be ground under my foot. That's that's the problem, and people equate it to the money. There's too much money and their players are aloof. There's a reason why players go, through crowds with their headphones on and pretend they're on the phone, because they receiving so much abuse.
See, I didn't like that.
They don't want to do that.
I've often said that. So you just that's about the first answer that I've ever had for that. I hate seeing the players get off the coach with their headphones.
There's a reason why they do it, because sometimes they're intimidated. They can be quite afraid, because all you're going to hear is abuse. It's all you hear sometimes when you go to places is abuse, is serious abuse. And there comes you're human beings. They're human beings. And you're getting abuse before you've actually done anything, before you've actually played poorly.
Because, from sort of your banter, your football banter of going training every day, being in the dressing room, and you'll have banter. There's players you've played with that you don't like. That you never got on. Or
you get on with it though.
You changed next. You didn't change next to him, but that was part of it. And I know that players, probably like yourself, once that day's gone, you miss that. You miss that routine of actually someone taking the mickey out of you.
Yeah. Listen, I think if you ask most players, the training and the playing, do they miss? There'll be specific games. Training you don't miss, specific games. But what you miss is is that togetherness.
Yes.
Whether it's on the pitch or not. It's just that. I mean, 1998 Charlton, I felt we were always going to go up. But it was carved out in the dressing room. It wasn't on the pitch. The pitch was the easy bit. We were friends in the dressing room. That was the difference. That everyone went on the pitch totally trusting each other. You'd have your rows and stuff, but we had each other's back. And that didn't come from the pitch. That came from the amount of time we spent together, understanding where the line was, defending each other, giving each other grief if they needed it. And that was a great group. It was a great group. And most successful groups have that.
Do you think that that's lacking these days? Because the reason why I go back to sort of the old Tottenham days. I used to go out with quite a few of the group of the Tottenham players that they had a nice little clique, and they would all go out drinking together, and they would socialise together. And then a few years ago, I did the West Ham party. I did the Christmas party 2 years on the trot, and I noticed that period of time. So it was probably 4 or 5 years ago. Actually, I did the West Ham Christmas do, and I noticed it was fragmented.
Yeah,
and you could nobody really. There wasn't this group atmosphere, whereas that I'd noticed sort of 20 years ago at Spurs, if you like.
Well, the thing about it is, and people might disagree with me, but the group environment was based around the social aspects.
Yes,
so it was based around alcohol and drinking. That's what it was based around. Now, the current footballer, that's not. You've got the advent of the foreign players coming in, especially if you remember Arsenal, the drinking club. That died a death. Because a lot of the foreign players were like, "What?
Wasn't it good though?"
Yeah. But not for most of them's liver, by the way.
No.
But with the advent of the foreign player coming in, I mean, I suppose a lot of foreign players probably smoked more than drunk.
Yes, yeah.
And so their whole makeup on it was different. What, you drink that much and think you can still train? Because a lot of the foreign players, in my experience, it was a business for them. It was, their body was it was a brand. They had to be right. They had to train right. They had to eat right. They were ultra professional. Obviously you're going to get some that weren't.
Yeah.
But that's what happened. So after the game, it wasn't about going in a bar and drinking as much as you can and all of that. It was about warming down and about preparing myself for the next game. And so the whole thing, what you found was in players' bars when I was playing, you'd go up there and there'd be so much alcohol to drink.
Yes, yeah, they would. Yeah, I mean, I think the Spurs one was. I think that you had to wait till a player had played 45 minutes before the bar opened.
Yeah.
So all the family and friends would be in the bar.
Yeah.
You'd be, come on, surely somebody would have a quick shower. And you'd be waiting. And the Spurs bar, like you say, was and you probably know that the Man United bar is a tiny little bar.
Yes, it is.
There's nothing there.
Yeah, there's nothing there at all.
And it was like, it was only for about an hour, and boom, it's gone.
Go to most players' bars now, especially for the top clubs. There's no drink.
Really?
There's no drink at all. It's not about alcohol anymore. It's funny. The Charlton one was brilliant because when I was playing for Charlton, my kids used to come, and the kids used to take over. The kids used to play football in the players' lounge.
Yes,
stuff like that.
It
was absolutely brilliant. And all of our kids they're all of an age now, kind of all knew each other quite well, and the families knew each other quite well. But I've also been in where in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, where the drink culture was huge, and the players' bar was like a pub, literally.
But there was, I mean, we know about those stories about Bobby Moore and stuff. They used to go and have half a lager before a game and stuff like that. Yeah. But there was this sort of camaraderie, wasn't there, about playing for your team?
Yeah.
And be like you talk about, you talk about Charlton with passion.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, I can only look at the likes of Mark Noble talking about West Ham with passion. And I know that there's an article come out this week about West Ham wanting more homegrown talent.
Yeah, it's not happening. It's not happening.
We need to do it, don't we?
Well, the problem that you have, if you look at a lot of the highest category, that's category 1, I think, academies, they've got a lot of foreign kids. A lot of foreign kids. Yeah. So the homegrown players, even at academy level, it's difficult for them to break through. And if you look at most of the teams, there are very few homegrown kids coming through to the fore. Like your Mark Nobles, he's going to be, I mean, Declan Rice came along, but of course I think he was at Chelsea. But you can't name many that have gone on to be regulars in the first team. Foden isn't.
No.
You can't name many, and you're right. There's not enough now of that link with the community anymore. There isn't.
No. In fact, what I think I said to you before, my son's been at the Spurs set up for 6 years now, since the age of 4, which is ridiculous. But you are right. Suddenly he's getting edged out, and there's a lot more young foreign kids coming in. This is at the age of 10 and 11.
That's exactly right. And you find that a lot now of academies are there's a lot of young foreign kids in. I'm not saying there aren't any English kids, because there are, but that link to the community, that understanding the community, that engagement with the community is getting less and less in terms of players, because our young English players are not getting into the teams.
No.
They're just not.
Okay. It's an interesting one, and I'm glad that you've picked up on it. It's nice to ask you because you've been at that level and know that situation of how those players. I think I actually asked. Who did I ask at the end of last
Your memory's terrible. You know
goalkeeper.
that, He's a goalkeeper. Edwin van der Sar. David Seaman.
I've got it, but I'm just going to give you. There's only one goalkeeper who wears a crash helmet.
Petr Cech.
Do you know what I mean? It's funny. I was just trying to get his first name. I knew it was Czech, but I was like, he's Petr Cech. And I was talking to him. His son played against my son, strangely enough. And he said, I'm wrapping it up at the end of the year. And I said, what are you going to? He went, I'm just going to miss being in that environment. Of course, in the dressing room. Just miss that banter and. And also miss me crash helmet.
It's the one thing you miss. It's just, and it's not necessarily the playing or the training. It's just being around it. It's just being around it. That buzz you get when you know you're going to play at the weekend. That what you miss. It's when you're on the pitch just before the ref blows the whistle. There's that roar of anticipation from the crowd. That's the type of thing you miss. You miss it.
Okay, I'm starting to cry. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Anthony Joshua.
This is Love Sport. Think the energy price cap will save you money? Think again. You could be saving a lot more on cheaper energy tariffs. Price comparison site A Spokesman Said will show you just how much money you could be saving against your current tariff. Don't throw away your hard-earned money to the energy companies. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could switch to cheaper bills in minutes.
Aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Listen to Love Sport Radio on your smartphone today. Simply download the free Love Sport app from the App Store or Google Play. Tap the play button and you'll be able to listen to your favourite station. Anytime, anywhere. Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice. If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit WEDOOH.com. We Do, the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
Love Sport.
What do you think about the AJ Ruiz fight? We're just going back over some of the bits and pieces. I will come to the Tiger Woods situation if we don't run out of time. But just every boxer that I've been speaking to, and I was talking to a little cage fighter last night. She was a lovely girl. It was a really good cage fighter, this kid. And he said to me, there's no way that AJ can win this fight. The other guy is too fluid. The way he boxes, he can't contain him. Yeah. What's your thoughts?
Well, if you look at Joshua, from what I've read, he's lost a lot of weight. He's cut down on a lot of muscle and stuff so that he can move about, so that he can, because Ruiz, he's a strange looking boxer. He's a strange body shape, to be honest. He's got a long body, hasn't he?
Snickers,
very strange, very strange, but very quick. Very quick, and punches well. And he may be, it's like often boxers have that one fighter that they just cannot deal with. And
Ben was like that with the Irish boy.
Oh yeah, Steve Collins. Exact same. Just has him, and maybe this might be it, because I think he's got to win this. He has to win this because it's going to be difficult for him in terms of going anywhere else if he doesn't win this and win well. And none of us know, because he said, I watched the documentary on him on Sky, and he still is believing it was a lucky punch and stuff like that.
He hit him on the top. He's saying that it scrambled him, hit him on the top of the head.
And I just look at it and I just think he beat him up for 3 or 4 rounds. He did, and you have to remember he got knocked down first, got up, cleared his head, and still beat him up.
You're right about his muscle situation. That's what we were talking about. He was so muscly, the lactic acid builds up, and he hasn't got the endurance of somebody who's got sort of. Listen, Andy Ruiz Jr. did not have lean muscle, okay, but he had fluid.
He had fluid. Yeah, he was wobbly. That's what he was. No, listen, when he won the fight and he was jumping up in the air, I just thought, wow,
that's some bra.
But I thought it was a wonderful thing, because when you talk about underdogs, when you talk about opportunity, when you talk about taking your opportunity, he's come from absolutely nowhere, and what he's able to do now is feed his family, is to look after his family for the rest of their life, and
it's like they don't look like him.
It's a horrible sport, boxing, in that way. You get punched in the face, and he's come from nowhere. If Jarrell Miller hadn't done what he'd done, we wouldn't even be sitting there talking about it. So it's literally an opportunity out of nowhere. And that is what the story is. Now, Joshua, I read things about him losing his love for the game and things like that. And I've been speaking to, there's a boxing journalist called Brooke Stretfield who is absolutely brilliant, knows her stuff. And I wasn't sure about that, but she put me right on that. No, you can. When things are going so well, you can lose that little bit of hunger.
Of course, yeah.
And maybe the defeat might be the best thing that's happened to him, and he may well go on and fly from here.
Well, he's definitely, like you said, cut down on muscle, because a few of my mates were sort of, 3 weeks ago, they were in Marbella, and he was there. He was at a pool party.
Yeah.
And I think it was funny. He said that the boys said he was great. And the boys took a few photos, and, there was some of my mates of 5'11", 6 foot, and they were next to him, and he didn't look that huge. There wasn't those big bowling ball shoulders. It looks like he has leaned up quite a bit.
I think he had to, because in the fights where he'd had trouble, and that's been a good few of them, is when he got to the middle rounds and he'd taken 1 or 2 punches, he was blowing, and having to carry that heavy muscle is, you generate some power and energy to do that, and you have to be incredibly fit, and clearly he was finding that a challenge.
I know Tony Sims, who's in his corner, really well. I've known him since I was a young man. I've trained with him, and I sent Tony so many messages to try and get the inside, and obviously he's not responding to me. Listen, AJ has been questioned on his Saudi Arabia fight that's coming up. It was questioned on the human rights record before his bout with Andy Ruiz on the 7th of December. Let's hear a little bit about what AJ had to say.
Look at what I've seen, the hospitality and stuff, and how they treat us in terms of the event they're going to put on. I know you're going to be able to come, because this has been mentioned, and hence why I feel like these were like small ticking boxes to actually agree in the fight there. So I know you're going to be able to come. And there are certain policies that are in place in the country, and there's certain policies that we just have to abide by. Do you know what I mean? And I abide by the law, and that's just how it goes in certain places.
Yeah, but if you're gay, you can be put to death there. I mean, that's not abiding by the law. That's taking a fight somewhere where a country is.
I feel like in this situation, I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. It's a thing I can't win for. I feel like I stand in the middle, and I feel like boxing is just trying to open up the barriers for people to travel and see. If you can't come to the country, you can still watch it. You're still open to support, and I appreciate the support from every community. I feel like so many communities have been through a lot of stuff. Even my own community, people are still going through stuff. If I'm going to fight for one cause, I'm going to fight for every cause. And right now the cause I'm fighting for is getting my belts back. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of as simple and as, like, I do want to put on that cape and be like a spokesman, but I've got some big tasks ahead of me at the minute, and I feel as I'm still young, I still got time. There will be a time where I may be more involved in certain aspects where we stand up and try and make change.
It's an interesting point because he could have fought this fight anywhere and got his belts back.
Yeah.
And it could have look, Saudi Arabia is going to be huge money.
That's all it's about.
It's all about.
Let's be honest.
However, is it a good opportunity to sort of relax something there? Because they're talking about women on the undercard fighting. Now, it could just start to soften something there, couldn't it?
Well, I think we're talking about an area of the world where women are treated like second-class citizens.
Yeah, of course,
That's what we're talking about, and you know, and it's incredibly homophobic. You know, the lady on the audio said you get put to death, and Anthony Joshua couldn't answer it. That's disappointing for me. That's disappointing for me because, you know, you can't say, you know, I'm young and in a few years' time when I've got my belts back, I'll be able to talk about. No. You're either appalled at it or you're not. We're not talking about you selling a fight. We're talking about your opinion on going to a country where people are treated as second-class citizens. Now, no disrespect, as a black guy, you'll have experienced that. You know what that means. You know, and I just think that, you know, they always say sport and politics and issues don't mix. Of course they mix. They have gone to that country for money. End of. There's absolutely no dispute in my mind. Because that's the country that's going to pay even more money.
But do you think that putting on something there like this, and the fact that they can maybe sort of put their own rules, they can have women fighting on the undercard. Does it just sort of suddenly it's the first thing to happen there, and then the next thing will be this next, so that we're basically softening them up?
Only time will tell. I mean, I tend to think the travelling roadshow's in town, and then when the travelling roadshow comes out of town, everything goes back to normal. That's. I think this is being done to show them in a positive light, and everything goes back to normal when the roadshow goes. That's my opinion, because why would you need this to come in for you to change? If you don't want to change, you should be changing anyway. You know, but you know, it's a country where, you know, if you're gay and you go there and openly show it, you're in trouble. And by that I mean walking down the road holding hands with another man. You are in trouble. So you know that you are different. You know, and that
it is archaic. It's ridiculous. It's just, I'm just wondering where's the starting point?
Yeah, the starting point should be before the sport is in the country. Again, for me, you don't need boxing going over there to encourage people to change. People should want to change anyway. That should be something in terms of education. So, you know, this is what irritates me when people say, you know, well, the boxing will go over there and you know, people will be treated differently. As far as I know, will women and men be able to you know, if your cuts person is a woman, is that going to be okay? Do you know what I mean? It's things like that.
I think that's what he was saying to me. You will be able to come. When he was trying to say to me.
But I don't know what that means. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what that means. And you know, I would have preferred Anthony Joshua not to answer the question, because I don't think he did a great job of answering it. Because in the end, he started to talk about his own.
It didn't sound like he'd been prepped very well.
No, it didn't sound. I mean, I'd rather him not have answered, because I tend to hope that he meant something else and just didn't articulate it well, because that didn't come out with him smelling of roses, let's say.
And just on the fight, what's your thoughts?
Do you know what? I don't normally do this pay-per-view nonsense. I think it's a con, but I may have to do it for this one. Because I tell you what, I mean, it's a nonsense. The saddest thing for me
Terrible thing is I've got a big gig that night.
Have you?
At 70s, I've got a really
so you'll be
big
like
gig.
that, wouldn't you? With the phone.
Yes.
The saddest thing for me is that we who support him won't be able to go and watch it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
That for me, I mean, as the fans that have watched him, you know, throughout from the Olympics to now, we are being cheated. I think that's unfair. I think that's really unfair. I think the boxing public, especially within the heavyweights, we're getting cheated. You know, we have to watch it on TV rather than actually being there. He would have sold out Wembley. I don't care what anyone says. He would have. Without a doubt. Wembley, wherever you want it to be, he would have sold it out. To go there is just about money. But putting that to one side, wow, it's a fight it's a type of fight we want to see. It's one where we have no clue what's going to happen, but it's going to be a tear up, mate.
It is, and that's why I like the fact that he's leaned down a little bit, and so I'm quite looking forward to, because he was quite mechanical in the way that he was boxing.
Yeah, he was.
I thought, it was very mechanical, very, how you talk to box. He actually, when he throws his punches, he turns his hands perfectly. Where the other guy was just a fluid boxer, who's just throwing shots from
and was
here,
quick.
there, yeah.
And the thing about it was the speed and the movement of him. He was just too quick for Joshua, and I tend to believe that's why he slimmed down, so that he's quick enough to evade. Because he's going to have to be able to move his body in not in the mechanical ways, because it appears that Ruiz is quicker. Yeah. So he has to be unconventional about the way he moves. Now, in order to do that, you have to be far more supple. In order to be more supple, you have to take away this lean, this big muscles, the body mass of muscles. You have to be able to cut that down. So I can see why
myself.
You are looking absolutely fine, my friend. But could you take a punch?
No, that's the terrible thing is I used to train with somebody. I love my boxing training. I love it. And a very good friend of mine who was a heavyweight got signed by Mickey Duff. He fought Akinwande in the final.
My God, Mickey Duff! You're showing your age, man. That's mine.
Yeah, so
love Mickey Duff.
So Mickey Duff signed him. So Mickey Duff sort of got us a job. This was when I left Goldman Sachs, by the way. And he got us a job working, and we would go to the Lonsdale gym in the afternoon.
For the record, you're the original Mr. Ben. You know that, don't you?
I know. I've done everything.
Okay.
I know. And we became great mates with Rod Douglas. I remember Rod. So Mickey Duff gave myself and Rod Douglas and Darren a job doing painting and decorating at the Lonsdale gym. It's hilarious. I know. And Rod Douglas was the only one who knew how to paint, and myself, Darren Westover was a heavyweight. He was like 6'4". He was the Great White Oak, right? And we didn't know what we were doing. We said, I don't even know what is that. And this is a paintbrush. I said, I don't know what to do with it. And anyway, we would spar. Like they would all spar. I mean, Eubank used to come up and spar with Rod, and then Rod was fighting Errol Graham for the British title.
That's right.
And so I was quite. I used to fight my hands quite low, and they used to say, "You're a bit like Kirtland Lang."
My God, Kirtland Lang!
Pretty good. They said, "Do you want to spar with this kid over here?" I said, "Yeah, okay." I looked at him, and he was about 6 inches taller than me, and he had in the back of his hair, he'd had the day before, and he turned around, he'd had killer etched into his hair. And Darren said to me, "You'll be fine, don't worry."
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Go out, throw your Kirtland Langs. So I got in the ring, and I thought, here we go. And I thought, so I'm dancing around, got my hands nice and low. And this kid, he was so mechanical, he just stuck one straight on my nose, right? And I went, ow, ow! My eyes started watering. And he said, throw your punches. And I got in there, and I was trying to throw loads of punches. And now I'm getting lower and lower. I'm nearly hitting his knees. I'm swinging everywhere, and as I've come up, he popped me on the nose again, and I wanted my mum, and my mate shouted out, "Throw your Marvin Agnes!" Well, I've ended up. I'm falling on the fella. I've clawed him to the floor. I said, "Get me out of here! I'm never doing this again." I love boxing, but I don't like getting it. It's a terrible thing. Listen, when we come back, we're going to be joined by our very own Dom. He's going to give us a preview ahead of tonight's UEFA 2020 qualifiers.
I'd never be a vegetarian. I think that is a huge mistake. So clever, so funny.
For the fans, by the fans. Love Sport Radio.
Every day someone dies waiting for a transplant. From spring 2020, the law around organ donation in England is changing to allow more people to pass on more organs to save more lives. Unless you choose to opt out or in an excluded group, all adults will be considered as a possible organ donor when they die. Whatever your choice, make it clear to your family and closest friends to ensure your decision is honoured. To find out more, or for the choice to opt out, visit organdonation.nhs.uk. Pass it on.
Hello, I'm Tim from Bolsover. I'm a retired teacher. I was looking for a better electricity deal from my parents when I got an email from a spokesman said it was a fixed deal for 2 years, which was better for my parents, less for them to worry about. And when I had to look at the sums, I had to recheck because I couldn't quite believe it. They were going to save over £900 each year they were on that deal. Needless to say, we signed up pretty quickly.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work that way. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
This is Love Sport.
We're going to, Dom's going to come in and have a little chat about UEFA. I just want to ask you, Paul, I was doing this last week with the spat with Michael Owen and Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
If you can pick your team, if you can pick the Malts team, at their height, who you having in your team, Shearer or Owen?
At the height of their fame?
Yeah, just the height, just who you having in the Malts team? Obviously, the little fella's got pace, but the other fella is a goal scorer. It's a tough one, isn't it?
Because they were both good, fantastic in their...
Can't have them both, can only have one.
Can I have the Owen of
98 against
England,
Argentina.
of Germany 1, England 5? Can I have that one?
2001,
yeah. But
wait a minute, Shearer was in there.
I know it'd be Alan Shearer. I've got to say it would be Alan Shearer. I like Michael Owen. I think he's an absolutely wonderful footballer.
Yeah.
I love Michael Shearer. Who would you have?
I went for Shearer because I said all day long that for me, when Owen came on the scene, he was just a fast runner, and I just don't. I don't like fast runners, right? Because I'm not fast. Do you remember Tony Daly?
No, Tony. Well, yeah, right. Played with him at Villa. Yeah.
Always used to say he was too fast for his feet.
You know, Tony Daly was incredibly skillful.
Oh, was he?
I'm telling you, I went there because I played against Dales a couple of times, and he was just lightning quick. But when you actually train with him, he's incredibly skillful.
Was he?
But you just never saw it.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You only ever spoke about his pace.
Yeah, but he had tricks. I'm telling you, he was a better player than you think.
Wow. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, that was my sort of downside for Owen. That I just thought he was just a fast runner.
Yeah.
Whereas Super Al, I don't know. He's just an out-and-out centre forward.
Yeah, listen. I remember Euro '96. He hadn't scored for Yonks before that, and then went on and scored goals. And he led the line really well. And he was. I'd have him all day long. And if I had to bet my life on someone scoring a penalty for me, it was already Alan Shearer. Isn't it?
Great, isn't it? Just the celebration, though, isn't it?
Listen, the celebration is the governor of celebrations because he scored. I'd take that all day long.
Just run just along that line. It was almost like. It's like he's won the lottery.
But you know what, Mark? That's how he played football. There were no frills. It was straightforward and very simple and effective.
Yeah, agreed. And that's why I went for Shearer. I didn't go for the little fella, Owen. The spat goes on, by the way. No doubt we'll be talking about it this week. But we're joined by Dom.
Hello.
Hello. Dom, just going to give us a rundown of the international football preview ahead of tonight's UEFA 2020 qualifiers.
Yes, we've had one game finished already, an early kick-off in Azerbaijan, where it was finished Azerbaijan 1, Croatia 1, so they couldn't get the 3 points away in Baku. And that's a big result for Wales, actually, because obviously Croatia are the top of Wales' group now, but obviously you have 10 groups and the top 2 teams in each group go through. So Wales, who obviously take on Bulgaria in a friendly tonight, will be very happy with that result because it still leaves us in their own hands to obviously gain a place at Euro 2020. But if we're looking at the home nations, Scotland have got a big game against Belgium tonight. I think we can only see this going one way. As England chant goes, who put the ball in the Scotland net? All of Europe.
Listen, if they get something from this game, because I think they were unfortunately
they will get
Russia.
independence.
I'm telling you, don't discount it. Belgium should win. I don't think Eden Hazard's fit either. I don't think he's not fit, is he?
No.
So that makes a difference. But they have got De Bruyne, so
they're pretty good now, Belgium, aren't they?
Well, they're sort of they're
sort of a bit better than
talk
Scotland.
About Scotland. They played Kazakhstan and San Marino and came out of a negative goal difference. So when they got lost of 3-0 to Kazakhstan and only beat San Marino, I think 1-0 or 2-1. So Scotland, if I'm looking at the group table in Group 1, it doesn't look good for them. They've got Kazakhstan and Russia ahead of them.
I'm sorry for laughing, but they normally laugh at us when we get knocked out.
Russia and Belgium look like the two going through from that group. And obviously Scotland do have another chance in the Nations League. But the problem for them is, if they qualify through the Nations League, because they're not going directly through, they're not guaranteed to play at Hampden Park because of the way the groups are working.
Blimey.
So they could end up playing England at Wembley instead of Hampden Park. If they got through automatically through the group stages, we'd be playing them at Hampden Park.
So they would play us at Wembley?
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question? Is there going to be a video that's going to explain all this to me again? Because I'm getting lost already.
But the only thing I could say is that I said this the other day, Euro 96, when we played Scotland, which was our second game, I remember turning up at the stadium and the Scottish were singing to the point where the English did not know what to do. We were embarrassed. And Scotland come out there, and honestly, I was embarrassed to be in that stadium. And Scotland was singing, and Scotland started playing well. And suddenly, the words to 3 lines come up on the screens.
Yeah.
And we'd never heard it before. And people was like, okay, what do we do? What do we? And we had to sing it, and suddenly that lifted us.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's unbelievable. And then obviously Gascoigne, Colin Hendry's never slept.
Another big game tonight is between Northern Ireland and Germany. Obviously, we spoke about them previously in the show. Northern Ireland 12 points out of 12 so far, albeit their last 4 games are 2 against Germany, 2 against Holland. It's going to be very tough for them, but they've done all they can so far. Germany, pretty much in turmoil. Remember, what was it back in probably over 10 years ago now, when Northern Ireland beat Spain? I think David Healy scored a hat-trick. So, they've caused upsets before, and they'll be looking to get something considering the turmoil that Germany are in. I think an interesting game, which doesn't feature any of the home nations or any big teams, but it's between Poland and Austria, because they're currently the 2 top teams in Group G. So, and they with 12 points and 9 points so far. So, if there's a big result here, then it could open it for Slovenia or Israel to qualify. But everyone seems so confused by the Euro 2020 just because of all the different host cities. Half the groups are kind of already decided, because the teams, if you qualify through the qualification stage, you're going to be in the group where your stadium is allocated.
Yeah.
So I think England are guaranteed to be in Group C. If we win the group, we're going Dublin, then Rome. If we come second, we're going Copenhagen, then St. Petersburg.
Wait a minute. If we win the group, we're going Dublin.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then
that's
Rome.
not bad.
And
Rome.
That's a place.
And then back to Wembley for the semi-finals.
Expensive.
Yeah, it's not
cheap.
cheap.
Well, a lot of England fans.
Fantastic night out.
A lot of England fans now are buying singles to Dublin, are buying singles to Copenhagen. Just because you'd rather waste, let's say, £100 than have to fork out £400.
Yeah, you've got to do it now.
When it happens. I mean, I think I'm going to the Czech Republic game in the next international break, and I think I booked my flight straight away. It was on the day the draw was done, like last December. But for me, I'm looking at it now, and it's like over £200 just for that one single. So yeah, you got to book them up early.
I might book it anyway because it's just such a great party in Dublin. I just love it. It's wonderful. Maltz, it's been unbelievable working with you.
Fantastic, my friend.
I've really enjoyed it.
Good laugh, belly laughs.
It's great insight into what it's like to be a professional footballer as well, and some great stories there, and I've really enjoyed it. Stick around, because I'm going to stick around. Matt Beadle is not well. I'm going to stick around for an hour to do the Arsenal fan show, and then Maltz is coming back straight after that. Don't go anywhere.
Love sport.
Hi, I'm Marilyn from Oxfordshire. My current insurance company quoted £245 and 8 pence to reinsure, and a spokesman said obtain me a price of £173.49 for the same cover. This was a fantastic saving for me, and next time my car insurance comes up for renewal, I will be going through a spokesman said. No doubt about that.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional.